This conference will now be recorded.
Hello. Hey, I can. Hello, this is Bill. Yeah. So you mute. I can unmute myself. Click that again.
This?
Yeah, the three. Yeah, and then just keep muted.
Oh, how big? What's this special delivery? Really? What? A special delivery here. Listen, I bought for $6.
Clock stopped.
5, 4, 3. You can go early. It's okay. Call the meeting to order with pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will take place Tuesday, May 30th, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center at 3500 Edgewater Drive in Sebring, Florida. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Do we have any public comments on anything other than what's going to be discussed at the action agenda? Now's the time. Please come up to the microphone. And we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Your name and residence.
Yes, my name is David Sherwood, and I live at 4850 Myrtle Beach Drive. I probably speak loud enough anyway. I've been living on Deer Run on the golf course, and it's had its ups and downs, I'll be honest with you. I'm here to ask the board for help. We're located at hole number 5 and had issues with this pond several years ago, which we were told, quote, "It's not our responsibility." Well, it seems that it is your responsibility from your own lawyers, and it was fixed at that time. Can you hear me?
What's the matter with it?
Well, I'm getting there.
Where is this location?
Deer Run, hole number 5.
Deer Run 5?
Right. At that time, 8 years ago, we were 7 feet, our line was 7 feet out into the pond. The erosion had eroded 7 feet into our property, which has been rectified. This was designed for, in the original plans for the course, not as, wasn't a retention pond. Was it, Randy, a retention pond? No, it was not a retention pond. Now we're back to the same point 8 years ago. The neglect and erosion has become more unbearable. My home now resides next to a sewer pond. There's garbage, there's cups. I just cleaned out the pond myself because of the ponds, the cups and the cake plates and all kinds of stuff were in there. I went and cleaned them out myself after about 6 months of looking. Now I have a pretty nice house and a glass room on the back where I sit every morning to have my breakfast. I'm not happy. It looks terrible. You know, I really think that we can coexist with Deer Run and the golfers. I love the wildlife. The wildlife's gone. We have a few birds that come in and peck here and there, but everything else is gone. It's just a collection of garbage. It's not acceptable to me anymore. And I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people do know, but some people don't. The definition of a retention pond is a retention basin. It contains, can also be called a wet pond, a retention basin, a storm water management pond, and is an artificial pond with vegetation around the perimeter. I need your help to fix this. It's a terrible mess out there. It wasn't like that when I bought the property. It was rectified a few years ago, and now we're right back to the same mess we have.
We will come out and take a look at it. That pond's been there ever since I recall. But we will go out and look at it. If there's some erosion going on, we'll attempt to take care of that. As far as the cleanup, we can try to make sure that somebody does come around and clean up occasionally. As far as cake plates and stuff, that's not from the golf course. That's, you maybe are getting cups from the water dispenser that's over there.
Right.
I don't know where the other garbage would be coming from, except maybe your neighbors.
Well, isn't it, it's on Deer Runs, or it's on Sun and Lakes property, correct? I mean, I pick up stuff from my neighbors or whomever, or the golf course or whatever. I mean, I fix what the golf course does to my property. And I would think that the golf course would want to take care of their property as well.
We will, and we do. But we will take a look at it.
Take a look at it, because this is not acceptable. It's very bad. And I really would like to have it taken care of it as soon as possible if we can.
Can I ask you one question, sir?
Sure, where's that coming from?
When we fixed it the first time, were you happy with it? Was that it, or?
Yes, it
So it
was
worked
cleaned
when we
up.
fixed it?
Sun and Lakes.
Yeah, when Sun and Lakes fixed upon, what was it, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago?
About 8 years ago now.
Oh, okay, I'm aging myself, but I was here when it happened. Did it work and you were happy?
Yes, the
Okay.
pond was filled up had water in it, like an obstacle course would on a golf course. The perimeter was cleaned up.
Okay, I
But-
just wanted to know if you
Yeah.
were happy with what happened
Yes,
last.
I was very happy with what happened, but now it's backslid into a terrible mess.
Well,
Okay.
with a drought, we can't help if there's no water in the pond.
We have that in all
All
over.
of our ponds are just about dry right now because we haven't had any rain.
Exactly.
We're in a drought situation. We will take a look at the erosion. But as far as being able to put water in until Mother Nature,
Well, could clean up around the outside, put some stone or something around there. It's a mess. The
We'll take-
golfers can't get their golf balls,
we'll take a look at it.
except the ones that come through my window.
We'll
Which
take-
that's,
We'll take a look at it.
okay,
sir.
that's what I want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Next on the agenda is consent agenda. There is none. Scott Carrick will be at the regular business meeting that's held at the end of every month. He's not here today, of course. So we're going to move into the action agenda, which is, excuse me. We're going to start the process of reviewing the 2023-2024 annual budget. So that discussion will start. And I guess, Dane, we'll start off with your report. You want to go golf first? All right.
Good morning, Supervisors. Obviously, we've met one-on-one with each of you to go through everything here. First up, we're looking at the summary page of all the different line items.
This one?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
It says summary budget at the top. So first thing you'll see on here is obviously the total membership revenue. Shows an 8% increase. In the budget's 1.4 million. So that's going to be probably our first topic as far as direction to go for our next budget session. I know we've had conversations with everybody about what direction the board would like to go. So In this projection, that is a 10% increase to the membership, and that you'll be able to see that as well in your packet. So I think that should be our first discussion, is what rates do we want to set for membership?
Also during our discussion, we asked about when we had the 50% off for increasing our membership, how many people took advantage of that and what was our retention rate?
So I believe we did it for, I think, almost 2 years consecutive. I believe that number was, we got 79 total new memberships that took advantage of that. And I think it was 41 or 42 are currently still on our membership roster today, which is a 52% or something retention. And we did have that discussion. I had that discussion with a few of you to see if we want to do another membership promotion like that to increase our membership. Never said what our membership total should look like or would look like. There's never been a cap to that. Obviously that's good revenue for the club to do that. There's pluses and minuses to anything that we do, but if the board wants to work in the direction of increasing our membership and would like to do another membership drive, the 50% off program worked very well. We can do that program again if the board would like to, or we could come up with a different strategy. And I'm happy to go through that.
Part of the reason that we talk about, general membership versus having outside play. Outside play is dependent upon a lot of different factors, rain or weather, as to whether they're going to come. My thought process is the more members we get, that's a guaranteed income, not something that is questionable related to weather. So I believe, in my mind, that we need to increase our membership.
I think that should be our primary goal. That's money in the bank. It doesn't matter if we have an Irma or whatever that closes down the golf course for 10 days. It's money in the bank. And that retention rate on that membership drive was excellent.
It was way better than projected.
Yeah.
If the board is if you're all on board with trying to promote that, I think that's a great idea, but I think we should maybe we'll have some more one-on-one discussions. I think we need to weigh out all the pros and all the cons, and then maybe in the next discussion, we promote that.
What's the con?
Well,
We're taking up outside revenue slots, T slots.
That's possibly one.
But that is definitely a question as to whether that's going to come true or not.
Correct.
I mean, you have something in your hand here,
Right.
if you got a member, and you're betting on whether or not you're going to increase your outside play.
That is correct. Another con is, so some of our, so we probably have really, really close to 500 members that are eligible to play golf every day. If that number were to go up to 600, there could be possibilities of, we have all our member groups, and I know the Monday afternoon shotgun, there could be, if we try to increase those anymore, there may not be room for them to play on certain times. So
Wouldn't that be a wonderful problem to have?
it would be. This is not an argument. I'm just saying, I just want to look at all the facts and then make a decision based on that. Some of our member tournaments are very large. I think we got room in most of our member tournaments to fit more folks in there, but I just want to make sure we look at everything and then.
Let me ask you this about memberships.
Yep.
Doing a promotion. Can you find out the very first year that we did it, what the response was? So it gives us an idea what we're dealing with. Because the first year also included Tanglewood took a huge amount of those first year applications, if you would.
They did.
So the true amount of additional members really, I don't think we looked at it the correct way.
Well,
I don't have a problem with doing a promotion.
Right.
I don't think I'm looking to grow the membership a hell of a lot, though.
I think that it's definitely a really good discussion to have. You know, and the Tanglewood folks, you know, obviously they're Sun and Lake residents as well. They did take out, I don't know how many of them, but they did.
They took out a
Purchase a
huge
few.
amount, and I think only 3 or 4 came back.
There's, I don't know what their total retention is. I'd have to break it down. I have to figure out exactly. I know most of them, but I don't think I know all of them. But I know there's still some that are members today, and they play in all them. They've actually started playing in all the member groups, some of them.
I mean, it's good to have a program. We have a lot of new building
Right.
done in the district. So I
No.
think to have something to offer
Right.
is a good thing.
Now,
But I think we have to be careful on, maybe just try it for a year, see what happens.
right. So
Where did most of the people come from that joined for, you know, once they took the 50%? Where were they from? Were they Sun Lake? Were they Tanglewood? Where did they come from? I mean, somebody's got to know that, right?
I would, yeah, we should have addresses for all of those
Right.
folks. I don't have that information with me right now.
So we don't know.
I would say most of them are Sun Lake residents, which includes Tanglewood. But also,
Right.
so when we ran that program, and this is on the good side of things, you couldn't have been a member, I believe it was in a 3 or 5 year span before. It was for new members only. So I would say I mean, obviously we have a lot of new construction and all that going on, but there's going to be less eligible people every time we do it. So the first year we did it, there was more eligible people than the next year. So it started to decline a little bit as far as how
I
that
don't think
works.
it's going to be as big as some people think it's going to be. That's just my
Well,
personal
Right,
opinion.
because there's
But
going to be less eligible people to take advantage of that. Correct.
We've also seen a significant growth within Sun and Lake,
Correct.
and that has not crossed over to the membership.
So that's definitely an
Right.
opportunity.
So
Yes.
I believe it's an opportunity. I don't know how big it is,
Okay.
but I mean, if we retain 50% the last time,
Mhm.
I think it's worth, in my opinion, it's worth a try.
Right. As long
I
as we
agree.
stay ahead of the attrition rate, we're definitely good. So, all right. So what we'll do is I'll get all that information that we did last time, bring it all out. We'll have discussions, and then maybe the next budget meeting, we'll have that discussion. We'll all be informed and we'll make a decision then. Does that sound good?
Yes, and what impact that would have on the potential of that 10%.
I'm sorry.
If you grow X amount, do you still need the 10% increase to
I
balance?
could tell you right now, 10% is unacceptable.
Okay.
Well, I agree. I
To
am
me.
not going to
Say
vote
you're
for
one person.
10%.
I'm pretty
I'm telling you
sure.
right now.
Right. I'm pretty sure for the most part, I think everybody's on the same page for looking at 5. That was the projection we made a couple of years ago. So I can, again, it's part of your discussion that I can next pass, I can move it to 5. But I did bring up the topic of we offer a 2.3% discount to those who pay with it cash or check. It's kind of, I would propose to the board that instead of doing it on the discount side, most places you do it, I mean, you do it the district with your water bill. If you use a credit card, I think it should be a surcharge of 2.3% if you want to put it on a credit card. That's pretty standard across the board with most places if you pay any bill with a credit card. So that would be my proposal, that I would bring back next time 5% increase and take the discount off and change it to a surcharge. Is everybody okay with that?
So where does that, so, all right, so if you had the 2.5%, so you're going 5 plus 2.5 is 7.5%.
In essence.
Right. So,
Right.
so we're still charging the residents, we're still whacking them again.
No, we're not, but they can.
Yes, we are.
They could pay with cash or
Well,
write a check.
But some people
Right.
can't afford cash.
Huh? Wait a minute. If you can afford to put it on your credit card, you're going to have to.
So there's
Cash.
there's very few out of the 340 45, 50 memberships we have, there's probably 3 or 4 that pay with a credit card. Very few.
But how about checks? Mike?
That's most of them. The other,
Okay. All right.
Why don't you give us two lines? One with a 5% increase, and then what the impact of the 2.5% would be. Just so we see.
Whacking everybody every time.
correct. So to Dan's point, so if we increase membership, we increase membership rounds, it's going to decrease public rounds, so that will decrease some
What was that?
public revenue.
You're,
If we increase membership, increase member rounds, there's going to be less available tee times for the public. So in that projection, we're going to have to reduce
you're
the public
already,
rates.
you already proposed to increase the member rounds by 1,000. So what does the public got to do with that? You're taking the member rounds from your numbers, 42,000 to 43,000.
Right? That's it.
Well, that's your increase in member rounds.
So I'm going to have to come back with a projection of an increased membership, which will increase that even more.
You have an increase, wait a minute, you're increasing the membership by 10. Come on.
No, but the assumption on that is based on not having a membership promotional program. If we do decide to do a membership promotion to increase membership, the assumption has changed and those numbers will change. Does that make sense?
Sure.
We're changing the assumptions that I used to make this budget.
What's your projection on new memberships next year? I can look, but
So
that your projection would be, in my mind, I don't think anybody's gonna come extra to get our half price, but so what's the projection?
So currently in this budget, the projection is that our new members that we would grow organically is going to offset the attrition rate. I'm sure you guys get all your emails of all the members that we lose throughout the year.
You're talking about an increase of 4 people. 4 memberships is what your totals are at 347 to 350. Last year's forecast is 347. The current count is 340. Okay, so you're going up 10 because the current count is 341. You're going up to, and your plan is I'll go up to 351.
Right. So basically, I feel we're going to gain four more members than we're going to lose.
But you say we're going to lose 10 of them in the full rate.
Well, it's not that we're necessarily going to lose all those. So in those
No,
projections,
they
some,
may
they're,
be going to, but
they're going to go to a
from
different category.
a full membership of $5,000 down to
Right.
something less.
Yes.
So you're taking it all out of the,
Full membership,
huh?
all out of the big membership.
You're taking it all out of the high membership rate and moving it down into the family over 80,
Yeah.
family
Correct.
over 85,
Yeah.
super senior, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
So
They
you're not
migrate
doing-
down.
You're not gaining anything in the family over 50. Right. You're going down 10.
A net, yeah, so the net is going to be flat, but also we've lost 5 or 6 members. We lost another one just recently. So
I understand that.
Right.
I'm just saying we're not doing anything to increase it.
So
In the
to talk
high
about increased membership is just almost zil,
It-
talking
it-
about 3 people.
it's flat, correct.
But 1,000
So-
rounds.
But again, that assumption is my original assumption is without a new membership program.
Right, but if you
If-
have a membership program, you've already
I will
taken into
adjust these
consideration
numbers.
1,000 extra rounds, and that should cover it. You can't raise that, there's no way you can raise that 43 any more than it is. Look at your history. 44.6, 45.9 in 2 years prior to this one, and this one you're estimating, what, 42?
43.
I mean, no, that's what your budget is, but your numbers don't, your 3 years history doesn't justify increasing any numbers. It's just not there.
Well, yeah, so membership rounds over the last couple of years declined. The 2020, 2021, and
In 21, your total rounds were 80,623. In 21, 22, they went up to 80,963. So that's a 300 round increase. And this year, you're estimating it's going to 80,000, which is a decrease this year. And then for next year, you're saying, well, I'm going to take it up to 82,000. I don't know how you do that.
Well,
I
it's
mean, the numbers don't back it up. That's all. My opinion.
Okay, any more discussion on membership? I got direction to what to bring back to you next time.
He's right with me. No one can make. We probably should get through all of golf before.
I'd like to go through and then, but keep your thoughts. So I'd like to get through the golf before and then jump into it. Continue on, Mike.
Okay. Next revenue line, total green fees, I've projected a 12% increase. Basically, that 12% increase is going to be through increased higher rates, higher average rates for the season. With the biggest goal of our rates are going to go up January, February, March, and probably into April as well. Looking at an APR increase of $4 to $5. Obviously, this year we were very busy those 4 months as normal, but it was actually probably a little busier than normal. So I feel there's an opportunity there to increase rates and still maintain rounds. So that was the assumption there. I feel in the summertime we could probably overall try to get $1 or $2 APR increase over the summer. So those were the assumptions that I went through when I put this together, and it came out to 12% increase. It's about about $160,000. Any questions
If you're
on that
taking the
one?
membership up 5% and you're taking the public up 7%, how do you get the number? How do you go from 1265 to 1422, which is a 12% increase? I tried it. I can't get there.
Right. So when I ran projected rounds with an APR increase.
Yeah, 82,000 rounds you're projecting, which I don't think you can do. But if you did 82,
Right.
I couldn't do the math to get even close to that number. You have to show me.
Sure. So if you want, we'll sit down and I'll go through the process that I went through with you to get to that number. I did it monthly. So I went through monthly rounds, what kind of increases we could do. Took our APRs.
I did a total because you said you were taking it up 7%, the public rate. So I just did 7%.
Well, it's a little bit different month by month because I did it monthly. So in months where I felt like the APR could go up more than other months and projected it out to that. I'd be happy to sit down. I'm happy to, I can sit down and do it with you.
I mean, we don't want to talk about this yet, do we? We'll talk about that later, Or is this now? Is this part of the rate?
Yeah, it fits into this category. So in past meetings, we've had discussions about our APRs in season. And obviously I think we're all on the same page that we feel that there's an opportunity in season. I think the demand in our market is definitely a lot higher than it used to be, especially in January through April. So we kind of redesigned this. We kind of we have the month of October, which is the start of our new fiscal year and season. We put November and December together. December used to be with the January through March, but it's actually not quite as busy as November. So I believe we were jumping into our peak rates a little too early, and I think that kind of hurt us in the past. So I wanted to put those 2 months together, and then I felt like April, at least the beginning part of April, is still quite busy and falls more in line with our peak rates. So that's why we paired those together. And then obviously May through September is our off season. So We also had discussions about our group rates or league rates, and it was obviously quite complicated, and there was a lot of separate ones. So I told you I would bring you a projection where we would simplify that. So that's where you see with leagues, and a league is a group that comes, multiple times, either monthly, weekly, or twice a week. So that's why we simplified it into those three categories, and their price breaks accordingly. You'll be able to see some rather large increases throughout the year on those rates. Anywhere from, it's up to $7 a round and an APR increase for our league rates. Is there any questions on those?
You guys have no questions about this sheet? I have a couple questions. What is a weekly league rate? I'm not familiar that we even had that.
So what we did, so when we have group, to me, a group is somebody that comes out of town and just shows up for one day and goes home. A league, that's why I wanted to put it in this category. A league, in my opinion, it's that you're playing every week or once a month.
And that differs, we have a monthly group rate and we have a weekly.
Correct.
Rate.
And then we have, so I put it into three separate categories instead of basically in the past, depending on how many players you had and how often you played, we kind of negotiated rates. We didn't really have anything that was actually set on paper.
Do we have weekly leagues?
Yeah, we have a bunch of them. They're weekly groups.
Besides Tanglewood?
Besides Tanglewood.
How do you differentiate a monthly group from a league, from a weekly league group? I'm just curious.
They come once a month compared to once a week.
And how many of those do you have?
There's one or two, and basically that group that we see monthly, they play every week, but they play different courses. So we have, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think there's one or two.
You have two?
That will come, yeah, they'll bring 40, 50
So
players
we're
once
having
a month.
we have a rate for two groups?
Two different large groups, yes. Does that make sense? So it could be, we're talking about 80 players that come once a month or more.
And Mike, how many times a year do they come? They come 12 times, basically?
No, it could be 6 or 7 times.
Okay.
We have some that are all year round. But most of the groups they're seasonal, just like everybody else.
This is what you're suggesting here is better than it's been. Don't misunderstand me.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to understand why it is what it is. What is the difference in hotel rates between the first play, second play, and third play? What does that mean?
So the reason why it's broken down into a couple rates like that is we want, if a group comes out of town and stays at the hotel, we want them to play our courses as many times as we can get them here. Okay. So if they're here and they're going to play 4 rounds in Sebring, we want to have a reason for them to play Sunny Lake 3 or 4 times. If you just, because we're the highest hotel rate out of any of the places around here. So they will wheel and deal and they will play other courses. And that's one of our better rates that we get is
Okay.
those.
No, I just
So
wanted to know what it was because I
Correct.
have not seen it.
we're incentivizing them to play our courses as many times as they can while they're here.
Okay.
The replay is the same day rate.
That's a same day replay. So if they play in the morning shotgun and want to go out on the other course in the afternoon, we give them a replay rate.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you this one. The Sunny Lake resident rate.
Mhm.
Every year we go through this. Every year we go through this, and every year you tell me it's going to be taken care of. And every year we don't do it. The Sunny Lake, and correct me if I'm wrong, we said that the resident rate would be the lowest rate of that day. Did we not say that? Every year? And it's the highest rate. It's the highest rate. If you look at it, they're paying more money than anybody else.
Mhm. So what we've done in here, and you can see that it's a little bit different now if you look at the resident rate. So when we have some of our group rates, we've actually offered the same rate to the residents. So if we have the Tanglewood morning shotgun on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if there is a resident that is playing at that same time, we are actually giving them the same rate.
I think the residents should get the best rate possible. And since I can't seem to get it done just talking to you, maybe we should vote on it. And if the board decides to do a different thing, that's fine. But
Right.
we've been talking about doing this and we haven't
Mhm.
done it. So maybe we should vote on it and get everybody's opinion.
How can we vote on something we don't know the rate?
Well, they're
It's right
there.
here.
It's right there. It's the
The rate would be
top
30,
rate.
the
It's
rate
the-
would be $39.
It's the top rate on the sheet.
So we're gonna stay
And
with
we're-
the 39,
and-
okay.
Now, just the one thing that we always want to do is obviously we want to protect the membership rate. If we go too low on the resident rate, we would be incentivizing members to not be members possibly. Now, that doesn't mean that it's possible for that rate to be lower. It is. And maybe we should have that discussion of what that should be if we want it to be lower. Now, the reason, I mean, it's just like with anything else, the reason why these other rates are slightly lower is because they're large groups. They're providing us with, heck, some of these groups could be 60 players.
Now, Mike, do a lot of these groups, you go in the restaurant too?
Absolutely.
So they're
The
spending money in
Tanglewood
there.
group goes in there every day. There's another
that's
group that comes in and eats lunch every Wednesday.
Right, and that's a plus. I mean,
Can you,
It is.
can you tell me how many resident rounds were played in January, February, March, and April?
Yes,
Just resident
I
rate.
can tell you that. I don't have it with me, but I got it at home. Absolutely, he's got that.
Actually, well, I have sent that file to you, but I can just
The
split it
highest
out and just
rate,
tell
I
you.
believe the highest rate in January was the residents at like $49. It was ridiculous.
How many people are,
It was the biggest moneymaker of the month. How's that?
Well, I don't have a problem with that being the highest rate because that was, if it's too high, then they'll join the club
Right?
and we'll have,
I mean,
I just don't have a problem with
I
that.
mean, if they put together a weekly group, I mean, they would, if they were guaranteeing us 40 rounds and had a whole resident group, I mean, Tanglewood is a resident group. If they did that, they would be subject to the same opportunities
That's fine.
as those other
If the
ones.
board decides they're happy with screwing the residents, I'm good with that.
Well, I don't, right, I don't view it that way, but it's worth a discussion. I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but
Let me ask you one more question on the pricing, and then I'll back off.
Mhm.
Is this the published pricing? This is the pricing. There ain't no other games or other pricing but what we're looking at.
so the only thing that's not, well, I'm sorry, there is two things. I told you one, but there is two.
What is-
Twilight's not on here and tournament pricing is not on here.
Well, we'll talk about tournament prices later. What was the first one? I'm sorry.
Twilight,
Twilight.
after
Oh,
two, after
Twilight
three.
League.
Are you going to publish a Twilight price? I
Well,
mean, why wouldn't you?
so Twilight pricing is a little bit different because it's not like it falls exactly into 1 month.
You know, you got the
Twilight-
calendar, you know when daylight savings is. You could do it.
I can. But it's a promotional thing. I change it. If the demand's not there and we're not filling it up, then it's probably priced too high and I need to change it. I don't want to be locked in.
All right, so outside
something.
of those two, this is the pricing, and there will be no deviation from this pricing.
I-
Unless you decide to go and do a promotion, but you tell everybody you're doing it before you
Right.
do it.
I,
So there'll be no games like this May month where the published rate is 47, and in the first day of the month, we came out at $31 for everybody.
I'd love to promise you that, but it's not that simple.
It's not,
If we get a
right?
hurricane or some act of God,
I understand
like a
that.
hailstorm,
What did I say? I
then-
said you come to, and you tell us you're going to do something. That's fine. I understand that.
I would have two comments. One, there's a lot of residents that play in the Twilight rate. So if you're looking at resident rate, you're probably looking at people that are determined to play at 10 o'clock in the morning or some number like that. If they play at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they get the Twilight rate and they won't be getting the resident rate. And secondly, if you do have an issue that you need to address, you don't have time to wait for a board meeting to then say, well, I'm going to go up or down or wherever.
Well,
Because
maybe
you're
he
not
goes
going
through
to.
that's, I agree with that. He can go through the district manager and he can send out an email. No?
Yeah, you're basically talking dynamic pricing.
Right. We need to have the flexibility. If I go back to the office today and I notice that Sunday has nobody playing, I need to have the flexibility to utilize that open tee sheet and sell it.
Absolutely.
And we have to let him do that.
That's his
He's
job.
running the golf.
And-
We gotta let
right.
him do what he thinks best.
And I will say this, that anytime, if we do run a promotion like a Sunday program that will blast out and it happens to be less than the resident rate, if a resident walks through the door, they don't even need to know it's there. We say, oh, listen, we ran a program, we ran a special, here you go. Well, you know what I mean? We won't say, oh, you didn't see that we ran an ad, you're still paying $49. No, it's like, Mr. Jones, we ran a special, here you go.
And you advertise some specials too, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We do it all sorts of different ways.
I mean, we have to let him run it and do the best that he sees it's got to get done. That's why we hired him. I mean, we can't keep tying everybody's hands up all the time either.
If you guys are all happy with the
I would
pricing the
like-
way it
We
is.
are.
I would
Okay.
like to see the impact on resident rates if you dropped it down to the $39. What would that do?
Why would you give away that much revenue?
Because when I look at, and you talk about Tanglewood rates, they are residents of Sun and Lake.
Right?
Then they ought to be paying 49, not 39. And that's, it's in my crawl, if you will, and I understand they're a group.
Mhm.
But it's just, I find it hard when we talk, Tanglewood is Sun and Lake residents.
Correct.
Okay, then if it's a Sun and Lake resident and they're getting 39, then I don't know why Sun and Lake residents otherwise don't get 39.
Sure.
Because the Senate,
Well,
they're not a league. This is the league rate.
Well,
It's a
it's in the
league
league.
rate
It
for
is a
one
league rate.
Group of Tanglewood residents.
So, so
They
To
could
clarify-
become members and get a rate.
absolutely.
So
But on that note, and I agree with you. So Tanglewood plays in the morning shotgun, 8:00. We are running that promotion for residents. If they play in the 8:00 shotgun, they get the same rate as Tanglewood.
I understand that you said that, but
But if
that's not
Tanglewood-
that's not what is conveyed to the public.
Sure. So if somebody from Tanglewood came over here and played in your group like the other residents do, they're going to pay the same rate that all the other residents do in your group. And you play at 11:00. They would.
The sheet says Tanglewood rates. I know what you do. I understand what you're doing. It's a bone of contention in the public eye.
So do you want me to change the wording on this?
To what?
What were,
How do we change the wording, David?
Well, it would be the Tanglewood, they're called the TGA. It's their league rate. If they have a league, if a resident group started a league, they would get the same thing. They have the opportunity to get the same thing.
I guess my question would be, is that rate based on a minimum number of participants?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then that's what I would call it.
They
If it's-
all are.
if-
You can't get to a group
can't.
rate without
You
bringing.
can't.
Yeah, so
a-
that's,
a
in my
large
opinion,
group.
that's what we probably need to break it down and say that if there's, and like, I know nothing about golf.
I mean, the way to
But-
solve it is take Tanglewood and put it into the weekly league rates and charge them that. Don't even.
I would
mention
definitely
Tang-
would not call it Tanglewood.
You don't
rate.
even
We don't want to
mention
call
Tanglewood.
that because that
a weekly
immediately creates a division. But if the rates are based on the minimum number of players, then that's how I would break it down and say, if you have a minimum of 20 players, you get this rate. If you have a minimum of 30 players, you get this rate. If you have a minimum of 40 players in your group, you get this rate. It's league rate.
Well, it's a league rate.
Mhm.
That's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
Put them in the league rates
Mhm.
and don't
You-
even call it Tang.
do SNL residents playing in one of the various groups that we have here today, do they get a group rate or do they pay an SNL rate?
They're not paying a group rate because they're playing with the member group that is paying a membership.
So what's the rate?
The
And
regular rate?
It's
Regular rate.
the resident rate.
That's not.
I'm telling you, he'll show you the numbers. He has the
And a
numbers.
lot of those groups are in prime time.
The
tea times.
residents are
They're
the
between
highest
9
paying
and 1.
group. They are. Now, some people think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. That's just my opinion.
Well,
The public,
they
the
have-
public
they
pays
have-
less than the residents.
they have the ability to join. I guess the biggest problem is you're advertising a Tanglewood rate, and Tanglewood is no different than
So-
SNL.
I mean, I could just change, instead of having Tanglewood on that rate, I would just put twice a week rate, twice a week league rate.
Take them up to $32, take them up $2 and put them with the weekly league rates. For $2, they're going to walk on you?
$3.
Well, it's going to be a lot more than that because it's already going up 5. So it'd be going up 7 or 8. And the answer is yes.
They're going to
When
walk
I-
on you for $2? Where is it more than $2?
So
Oh, it's $3 in January to April.
Yeah.
So they were playing with us 2 days a week, and now they're playing with us 3 currently right now because another club went up on them a few dollars. So the answer is
I play
absolutely
4 or 5 times a week and you're raising me 5%.
correct. And they're, well, $7 on 35 is more than that.
Fine. I'm done arguing. I'm done discussing, I should say. You want to, the other, one, public rates, you think you're going to get $45, $55, and $65? You really think you're going
So
to
we,
get that?
so we do. So when we have available tee times that are prime time tee times that are between 9 and 1, which is where a lot of the member groups play, if we have available times and we sell those, they are at that higher rate.
Your sheet that you have given me
Yes.
every month does not
It's
show
there.
that. Does-
It is there.
Okay, I'm done. Okay.
Yes. Now, obviously, I know this is frustrating and it's just not simple, but this is what we do. This is the world that we do live in every day, trying to make sure that we're utilizing our T sheet to its maximum potential. It's not easy. It's not cut and dry. You don't just have one right here and one right there and go. It's not that simple. The goal is to put the most money to the bottom
I
line.
never said it was easy.
It-
I understand it's a
It's
challenge.
It's very
But
complicated.
maybe trying to load up the T-sheet as much as possible at ridiculously low prices is not the way to go.
It's a balancing act.
Okay?
Okay. Okay.
I would still like to see the dollar impact rate of moving SNL residents down to the same one as Tanglewood.
I got that note. All right. So for the second time, I'm going to kind of go generally here off the summary page. And if you want to stop me to look at anything more specific, let's do that. The summary page is the one that we started on. So overall food and beverage revenue, I have going up 6%. It's not going to necessarily be too many price increases in there. It's going to be a little bit, we're going to generate some more folks in there is the assumption in there. So about 6% increase in total revenue there. Okay, next line item is the non-operating revenue. And what that is the transfer from the district to the golf course. Now, in the past, the district has funded the capital projects for the golf course. In this budget, that has been eliminated. The golf course will fund all of its own capital for this year, for sure. The only transfer is the $40,000, which is the golf course lot assessment that we now maintain. So there's $40,000. I think everybody is aware of what that is. You can see our our COGS increases there, that's normal.
Includes all the retention ponds and everything.
Yes, that is us maintaining the retention areas and those areas on the golf course. Total labor is going up 7%. That was the biggest challenge through this budget, is obviously minimum wage is going up another $1 this year. And obviously that's going to continue till it gets to $15, and then I'm sure they'll come up with something else. So that was the biggest challenge. That's the biggest increase in our.
Are you on golf course maintenance? Is that what you just said? 10%?
Labor.
Well, we're talking about labor, yeah.
Sorry.
Total, yep.
I do have a question on labor. According to your sheet, you're taking, I don't have it in front of, one group up 3% and another group up 10%. I didn't understand that.
As
Golf
far as
operations is, well, this sheet says golf operations labor is 4,
the 4% increase,
but the beverage is what?
food and beverage is 8. So
I mean, why aren't they the same, I guess?
So in food and beverage, we have the most minimum wage employees. So they're all going up basically 10%. Not everybody. Not everybody's getting a 10% increase in their salaries. But where you have the most minimum wage employees, they have to go up 10%. Okay? And then anybody that's close to minimum wage will also follow suit. Because it's not fair if I was making $13 an hour this year, you're getting $1 raise and I'm not. It's just, and I've been here 8 years. As far as salaried employees or higher paid hourly employees, they're not going to get a full 10% increase. It'll be a merit increase of 3 to 5% based on performance.
Golf, golf operations labor, that's a pro shop, right?
And cart barn.
Okay. Because and then golf course maintenance labor is up 10%.
Correct.
Well, golf course maintenance, according to your last financial report that you sent out, is running at, you're projecting it to be 732,000 in the February,
Mhm.
in your February report. And here you're saying that you're estimating it's only going to be 634 and you're going to 698. And you're already, on the other report, you're saying 732
I got it projected as 733 for
Right.
this year. And
for
I
this
got,
year. So
right,
it's going to be
and-
less for next year.
And it's proposed to be at 806 next year, $70,000 increase.
Golf course maintenance, am I looking at the wrong line?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Projected
Huh?
total golf course maintenance labor, 634.
And you're projecting on your numbers 732 on your, that monthly report that you send out. My whole point is I think you're underestimating what you're going to need based on where you are right now. Why not? Have I got it right? I may not have it right.
Well, is golf operations and golf course maintenance supposed to be combined on your other report?
Is it?
I'm
Golf
not-
course
I'm not
maintenance
following.
labor is just a line on the other report. So I'm pretty sure it says 732. Is what, if you go to the end of the, how you project the year end based on where we are through February?
Right.
It says 732. I may have missed the line, but I don't think so. So I'm basically saying you need to put more in it.
You're not looking at the expense line, are you?
Wait a minute, I do have it with me. It says golf course maintenance, 763, you're projecting 732,165.
And labor?
I may be wrong. It says golf course, what did I say? Maintenance. I could be on the wrong line. It's this line, golf,
So on these financials, that's These are expenses. These are operating expenses.
Yeah.
It's not lease.
Okay, so I'm looking at the wrong one.
Oh,
Okay,
here it is,
that's
that
fine.
total.
Payroll and benefits is up here, which
You-
Okay, then I'm wrong. I apologize. Okay.
Any more questions on labor? All right, on the expense side, obviously, we know we're going to see some more increases as we have been. You see a total, I got the golf ops with a 13% increase, which 13% sounds pretty high, but actual dollar amount's only $7,000, so it's not really that big of an increase. G&A expenses up 5%. Electricity, I think we've been running over this entire year, so I did increase that, which was a big one. Not a lot of total overall G&A expense increases, but there was a couple, so that's why that one's only 5. Total maintenance expenses up 10. That includes, fuel. What else did we go up on, Jimmy?
Fertilizer.
No, fertilizer actually came down to,
Oh, good.
and the whole thing with the fertilizer and the chemicals is that it just fluctuates so much. Even the pricing, if we try to call before we even order anything and find out if it's less this month, then we try to actually put inventory in. Most of the decreases in golf course maintenance, labor item or we have inventory like on the growth regulators and stuff, but fertilizers, yes, it went up. It's proposed at $2,000 over this year, so it's pretty flat. That's just if it does fluctuate a little bit, it gives us a little bit of room there. Greens fertilizer, it's bouncing around. It can go anywhere from $10 to $15 a bag difference per month.
I got that as too low.
Well, I mean, we try to get at least the average. I mean, it's 24 tons is basically what we're putting out per year. And it's about 12 pounds of nitrogen per year on the greens that we put out. Which is, I mean, if you put it, I mean, you can only put so much there, you're wasting it at that point.
Okay.
But Bev, I bumped it up in the soil amendments and stuff, for what we're trying to do in the greens. Like when we punch them this time, we're going to do the profile in the greens again. The other thing is the command that we talked about that we put on turtle that's helped us to retain our water and stuff over there. Those products we're going to, try to use a little bit more of.
So you're swapping out?
Yeah, it's just, one hand's doing the other. But the biggest thing is, that we can't control is the fuel cost and stuff like that. Because that's all over the place. And the same thing with utilities there with the pump stations. Sand went up a little bit, mainly because, we're going to try to, our biggest thing is try to start top dressing tees as much as we can and doing more soil amendments on our tee boxes as well, trying to heal those in as quick as we can. Other than that, there really wasn't any large increases that really stood out. I mean, the pre-emergent, again, it's one of those chemical products that keeps bouncing.
What about the blanket coverage for
The what? Sorry,
a frog. And the blanket coverage for
the bulk apps. And so I do have some nematicides in here as well, like we did this year. We're getting ready to, when we shut down Turtle, the 22nd, we'll be treating for those as well. That's all still in here. I didn't change any of that.
All right.
Is that nematodes?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the 2 bulk apps are still in there. So we're going to do our pre-emerge with our aspargate on our fertilizer this month. And then we left the little bit in there for a fall app before season starts.
Okay.
Jimmy, I got a question on deer.
Yes, sir.
I played the other day. Correct me if I'm wrong. The new system that we have in primarily works on the fairways, the greens, and the tee boxes.
Sprays in, yes, sir.
It doesn't really cover the rough.
No, sir.
Okay. The rough is kind of going on the whole course.
Right.
So my question would be, understanding that, do we have a plan to what we're going to do? And can we cover it in the budget, whatever that might be?
That's a great point. Again, I think that over time, the Bahia will start to crawl in a little bit more. Your Bermuda will get a little bit less. Some of those areas, we're going to have to go back and probably do what we're doing and then just keep cutting in seed as we go, as we get these areas thin. When it rains again, it's going to be irrelevant.
Well, do we have enough Bahia to basically do the rough on the whole course? Enough seeds, whatever it is? Is that in here?
Well, I still have about 9 or 10 bags. I actually went out and did some on 3 and 4 when we put it out on 15, 16, 17. We're going to keep seeding those areas. We're going to have to. But the whole thing is with no irrigation, it can't come up until it starts to rain. But it's all in place right now.
I just want to know if we're covered going forward, whatever the cost might be to do this.
I did bump up the landscape just for that reason. So we would have, if we need some seed or need some additional sod in areas, if we get some erosion around any of the ponds as well, we still have our riprap, which we're going to try to cover as much as we can. And that might be something we look at on that pond when we go out there and look at it next week or whatever. It might be something we can look at. There's a lot of areas and a lot of ponds that we could put riprap on, but I mean, it's expensive. I mean, it's, you're talking $25,000, $50,000, and that's not even covering the whole ponds.
I mean, we got a couple more passes, so if you think you can't cover it, you should probably bring it to our attention.
I'll look at it, Mr. Brooks.
And does turtle come into play on this conversation at all with the rough areas?
Not really.
Okay.
Only thing we're going to try to continue to do with turtle is fix the ponds like we talked about with the erosion. And then, of course, we're going to try to get number 5, get a new gold tee on number 5. I know that might be source.
Where's that going to go?
Excuse me?
Where are you going to put the tee?
It's going to be the left of the cart path, mainly because the tee on the right side of number T, we don't really have on the right side of the pond, we really don't have a lot of room to construct a big tee over there. And regardless, we're going to keep walking across the white tee to get to the gold tee. So it kind of didn't make any sense to try
So you're going to close that whole side there with the bridge?
We're going to keep the white over there.
Are you going to keep the white over there? Are we going to fix the bridge this?
Yes, sir. When I close it, I spoke with Bob and we're going to try to raise the concrete.
Yeah.
We're either going to do a drain in there to try to capture the water when it runs, and then we'll do our riprap, do our filter fabric, and do our riprap coming off the sides of the bridge.
Okay. The new tee box, is that where the old one was?
No, sir. It's just up a hair from there. It's going to have irrigation coverage. That tee, the old one, that little one they built was right at the end of the throw, and
yeah, we never even used it.
It's too small. I mean, we're going to build.
Based on where that is, where's the new one going, in front of it?
Probably about 10 yards.
In front of it?
Yes, sir. And some of the tees, riding them and looking at them, I think we can take some of the tees and take them down and widen them, and it'll help us in a lot of places, and resod them. When I was riding with Mr. Herrick, I found that the primary grass on some of these tee boxes, coastal common Bermuda, which you can't cut down like we want, and you can never really get it tight enough. So some of those we're going to resod some of the decks like what we did on hole 1 and hole 4, and we're going to get that as far as we can this summer. And we might not get them all done this summer, but we felt 5 was the biggest priority.
Are we going to overseed in the fall on the tee boxes?
The tee boxes, yes, sir.
Is that just the tee boxes?
Yes, sir.
And that's in the budget too?
Yes, sir.
We also bought the slitter seeder, which we used to put in the Bahia seed. If you just scattered on the ground, the birds eat it. So we spent what, $5,000, something like that.
No, we actually got, it was actually $600.
No,
A good one would have been 5,000, but we just wanted to make sure we got the seed cut in the ground.
He told me set 5. I said, okay. But that's even better. But we do want to make sure we get it in the ground instead of just scattering it on the ground. What the hell is that? I don't know. It's not this year.
Are there any other questions on other expenses? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Total food and beverage expenses, I'd show a 4% increase. That covers our, kitchen supplies and, when we need to get, new forks, silverware, paper products, all of that stuff. So there will be a slight increase there, which is actually a decrease in budget from last year. As you can see, we're actually running under budget this year in supplies. So that's good, but I did show about a $5,000 increase going into next year just to cover any increase in cost. Total sales and marketing, the budget's really flat from, this year to next year, which is only about a $1,000 increase in total budget there, but it's a 9% increase over this year's projected. So obviously we're running under budget this year. Total lease and other expenses shows a 16% increase there. What falls into there is insurance. So obviously we're going to see some increases there. Also, if we ever get the new ice machine for the kitchen, that'll be a lease, so that'll fall on that line item there. And you can see those breakdowns on when you get off the summary page, but overall it's a 16% increase for that. Capital expenses, it's $260,000. Where I started back with the other income, we will be paying the new equipment lease, and we will be paying the capital expenses, that is the cart path repair and riprap that is on our 5-year capital plan right now. So we will be paying all of that through the golf fund. And overall, number's obviously going to change as we project out the membership revenue and green fee revenue, but that leaves an actual surplus of $65,000 on this budget, which will change slightly as we make those adjustments and bring it back next time. It'll go down.
Oh, I got it.
I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it, but it'll go down. Is there any further questions on that?
Yeah, Mike, I did find all the rates. It's terrible, December. I'm not going to go over them today. I'll just, I do want to challenge you on the number of rounds. I want you to kind of tell me, not today, next time or in between, how you really think you're going to increase it by 4,000 rounds. I just looked at your trend, and I looked at the trend, and I just don't see how it can be done. And everybody was complaining about the course being overcrowded, you guys, and the gold tees being overused. So I'm not quite sure, and you need that 4,000 to make your numbers work. So I'm going to ask you to come back to us and explain that a little bit further. Huh?
So in my projection from this year's actual to next year's proposed budget is 2,000 rounds increase. Now, not all.
You don't have to do it today.
Right.
I know.
But a lot of those projections are off season. But yes.
Come back. If you just show us how you're going to do it.
Okay. I guess a summary note, I'm going to bring back some new membership stuff. I'll get you the resident projection there, and those are the notes I have.
I have a non-budget issue that I'd like to bring up pertaining to golf.
Okay.
On the age, I know somebody who's going to turn 90 in November, and he's not going to get the benefit of the rate of 90 years old because we start in October. I personally, at 90, think he should get anything he wants. To play golf at 90, I think, is a freaking miracle. But that being said, I understand that's the rules that we have. So what I'd like to suggest is that we change the rules and go to a fiscal year birthday calendar relating to the age limit.
Did we not 3 meetings ago give you the right to determine special exceptions to rules? Is that not in the minutes? To determine, like, if somebody has a knee replacement and can't pay their second one. I remember this vividly. So would that not be in if you wanted to give him a month's grace, would that not fall under that category? Just a question.
Here's the problem. I asked him and he said no. He
Oh,
said that it would have to be a board decision to change the rule. So that's
But
why.
This
I'm
is a
bringing it up.
little, yeah, this is not a medical leave scenario. This is a policy scenario.
okay.
And we can change the policy if we decide to.
You guys can, yes.
So that's why I'm bringing it up. I think.
So on the
who gets
current-
90?
So just so everybody's on, so the current policy states that as you go down to the, when you go through the age categories there, you have to be that age. Is it September 30th or October 1st? Prior to, I think it's October 1st. I think you have to be, in order to fall into a category, you have to be that age prior to October 1st.
Okay.
So what he's projecting is he's got somebody that's going to fall into that category. November, did you say?
I'm sorry?
Did you say November is when he turns 90?
The member's going to turn.
Irrelevant.
And
After that
He's
date.
been a member for like 20 years.
It's after that date. So I don't have the ability to waive that, nor do I want that responsibility.
It's a bigger can of worms than 90,
Yeah.
then you got 85, then you got
Right,
80.
well, that's
I
Exactly.
mean,
All I'm
so-
doing is asking for a 3-month extension on what our current policy is to go through the end of the year. So it's October, November, December.
Are you
And
going to
if
make it
hurts us a
90 or
little
you
bit-
can make it 85? You can make it 80. I mean, all of them are discounts off. It's up to you guys, but
Yeah, that's what it's going to do. It's going
What
to
do we-
make him lose a couple of $1,000.
What are we talking for money for that?
Exactly.
And also know that we've stood on that really hard since I've been here. And I know we had several last year that we told them, sorry, this is where the line is drawn in the sand.
I don't think we need to be changing policies.
Huh?
I don't think we need to be
Well,
changing policies.
If,
Guys, turn it.
in my opinion, if you change the date, you're just delaying it 3 months because there's going to be somebody that's January 1st turning 90
Yeah,
or 85.
exactly.
You're just changing it. That's my
Everything
opinion.
is
I like
always
to have a
October.
vote for everybody to go on record with this.
Okay.
What are we talking money?
It doesn't matter.
It's not money.
It's not about the.
Because you can take it and go into every category. It's-
Yeah, I don't.
it co-
Somebody make the motion. We'll put it to a vote.
So what will we be voting on?
If we want to change the policy date from October 1 to January 1.
So then what would we, next year or next meeting,
Yes.
changing our vote again to March 1st? I mean, it can continue forever.
I would
Well,
remind
you
you
can vote no
the
then.
problems we got into when you started changing board dates around.
Yes.
It's not as simple as it sounds initially. I don't have any problem with it one way or the other, although I have some of my very good friends that I've told, sorry, you're October the 3rd and it's too late, you're 85 and I don't care. So you got to pick a date, some date,
Yep.
whatever you want.
So let's make it real simple. I make a motion that we should do it. Let's vote on it. And if the vote's no, it's no.
Is there a second?
Is that fair?
I guess it's fair to take a vote, sure. I'll second it. No?
So the
The
motion,
vote is-
for the records, the motion is to extend
Nothing.
the birthday qualifications for membership from October to the end of the year.
Is
That's
that
the
all
motion.
categories?
Of course.
Do I have a second? No second? Okay, that kills it.
Michael seconded it.
Huh?
Michael seconded.
Oh, Mike seconded it?
Well, he did originally,
second
but
it?
then it went.
I'll second it.
How about it?
I'll second it, so we can get it over with.
Supervisor Phillips?
Hold on. Any public comment?
No.
No
Any
public
more
comment.
board contact? Call the vote.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
No.
Supervisor Gilpin?
No.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
President Herrick?
No.
Done.
Is there any further comments or questions for me?
We had one public comment on the Did you still want a public comment on the golf course budget? Golf in total budget?
I'll make this brief as possible, I promise. Again, my name is Mike Barney. I live at 3741 Catalina. I started at 3706 and 3700 Surrey Avenue in 2012. You know, this is only the third board meeting I've been to since then, and I'm sorry, but I'm down here now, you know, and I want to attend more, but man, when I moved down here from Edgewater to the Circle in Sun and Lakes, there was 40 homes in foreclosure. And I got lucky and bought one of them. And since then, there's been some highs and lows. But right now, I mean, you got to be the luckiest board and the luckiest managers in Central Florida. There's so much building going on and so much revenue coming to this area. And as far as the golf, like I said last week, if all that keeps going, it's going to take care of itself. No doubt about it. There's not going to have to worry about a number of rounds. And I will say one thing real quick. As a resident, when I go up there and I get a 50-cent discount for being a resident, it doesn't set too well. And I'm not the only one. That's just my opinion. It's not a game changer. I'm still going to play it here. But it's not really good. The other thing is, if you're going to, Hornick last week or last board meeting was wanting 25 acres, and I believe it ended up, it was more, so you guys are going to revisit that. Over that time, from 2012 to now, 2 different homes. I've got another home on contract I'm trying to buy, but those other 2 homes, I missed out on the membership. They were giving away memberships to buy a home.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I was still working. I was only down here a week out of the year. I couldn't take advantage of it. I bought 2 homes, both times to give away memberships. I say give away, they're not necessarily given away. So if you're going to let these builders come in here, which is a good problem to have, it's great. Like Hornick, if he wants to buy 15 acres, 25 acres, however many lots that is, somewhere in there, he needs to provide, whether he raises his price or not, a 3-month membership to the homeowner. And say, well, the guy doesn't play golf. Well, good. Now you got 3 months of membership of money, revenue coming in. It's extra money and you don't even have a golfer. You know, so that's another way you could get it. The biggest thing I see is, as a homeowner and an investor too, I mean, I'm excited. You know, how come I don't feel that? And the other thing, the infrastructure, I'm not worried about it, but there are some things there. You know, I'm a retired pipe fitter. I've always worked with my hands. You know, I'm hands-on kind of a guy, and appearance is everything. You know, the place I'm looking at now is over there on the lake across from Magnolia, all them places they built. I'm looking at Hornick's one of his duplexes on his lake. Well, I noticed in behind me there, right, you know, you go in, you turn right, you go to Pebble Beach, you go in, you go down. Yeah, Fields builders have built, I went to open house, 480,000, 450, right across the street. Right up the road, they've got houses they built that they don't have garages. I mean, you know, how does that happen? I mean,
Because we went to the county and we couldn't get approval to make it mandatory that they had to be a certain size.
that's fine.
And we come off quite a bit of the subject matter.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to get off track. I'm just what's kind of when I drive around and see it, and also I know a guy that owns one of the tile homes back over there, and he's totally upset because they built two of them right next to him. So I hear a lot of things, but the bottom line is, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that the golf course is coming back, because no matter what, without that damn golf course being in good shape, this ain't going to happen. People wouldn't be coming here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move into the general fund summary. How about a five-minute recess?
Utility fund, general fund.
I guess I could have done this without doing that. Record. We'll start with the Sun Lake General Fund summary budget. Dane, I'll give you the floor.
Good morning, supervisors, public.
Bill? Bill, the meeting going on.
All right. Let me give you a kind of a quick theory on how we've done this first pass of the budget. We tried to take a conservative approach. What I mean by that is we've taken our revenue and not suppressed it, but we've set it up to where we think there's going to be more growth than what there is. But if the possibility with, things going on in the world today, interest rates just creep back up quarter point this past week. If things were to slow down, we think we can definitely hit these revenue numbers. But at the same point, we think there's still some room for growth. On the opposite side with the expenses, inflationary pressures, we think are going to come into play, and we've got room for those. But we also think if they don't come into play as much as we think they will be with the management, we think we won't be hitting these expense numbers, and we can take some of the revenue side and the expense side to a reserve contingency and set that up for future growth and future needs. For summary purposes, let's start with the revenue. We think we're going to hit 4.4 million, and based on historicals and the increase in assessments, we think this is definitely an attainable number. No, you're fine. And I'll get into the details in the next page. Then we get into the expenses.
Dane?
Yep.
Maybe right off the bat,
Yep.
explain why, we have an estimated actual of 2022, 23 of 5 million, and we're talking a tentative budget of 4.4.
Yep. So that includes 700,000 in insurance proceeds. So if you take that away, it puts us around that 4.4 million mark.
That 700,000 was for repairing the roofs. As you see, we are in the process of repairing the roofs from the hail damage that was done April 4th of over a year ago. So we're just now getting that done. I just wanted to make sure that you saw, we're not actually going backwards. That's all I was wanting to try to say.
Yep. And those should be done hopefully, in about 3 months, 4 months. They made a lot of progress, just on a side note. We'll get into these expenses. I think you all have had a chance to look at them. You'll see there's some, typically they're higher than most or previous years, and there's some explanations. We think we'll have about 145,000 in capital outlay, and I'll get into what's making that number up. And then we think we'll have, even with these numbers, currently about 154,000 in a reserve contingency we can set up for future years. Any questions so far on that? And also, I'll with talking with you guys, I'll just kind of set some other scenarios that have come to light that I think are good points we need to also consider after we run these numbers, so that, they could change, but I think they're good points and we should consider them. All right, so you guys have had a chance to look at them. Here's our breakdown of our revenue. You'll see it's typically based on a 3-year average with best predictions, where we'll be coming in, but very conservatively, and possibly, like I said, we think we're going to get the growth, like the gentleman was saying, growth is happening, but the way, things have been going, we could see a slow turn down, depending on who you talk to, there's different indicators. There could be a slowdown. So we're preparing for that if it does happen, hopefully not. But like I said, I think we can definitely hit these revenue numbers and exceed them. All right. And then let's get into the details. Admin expense. over the years, it depended on how the budget was set up. Different individuals, different titles were in these numbers. So you'll see some growth. You'll see some people taken away, some people added. In this top admin number, we'll have the general manager, about 50% of their salary will be going here. We currently have the assistant GM / finance manager at 25%, an admin assistant / board secretary, and the HR director in here as well. I'll get into maybe changing these at the end.
At the end.
You want me to do it now?
I think you'd.
All right, well, we talked about, there's been talk about bringing on a supervisor, an ops supervisor, I believe is the title, that would be over both roads and drainage and utilities. So that's something we might want to consider. I've seen it both ways. I've heard we're going to get somebody, I heard we're not. This number here does not include that. My estimate is, I put in a high estimate, not in this one, but I can show you another, maybe in the next meeting or after this one, what it looks like if we add in one of those supervisors. I put in 90,000 as their salary, and that will be split between the general fund and the utility fund. I don't know if that's the number we want to go with, if we want to, increase it, decrease it. Something to consider.
You said 90?
I just threw in 90. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if we want to do higher or lower.
The first thing we ought to decide is if we're still in agreement that we want an ops guy.
Well,
We can set up a
in our
placeholder.
mind, and I guess in my mind, we still need one. I don't know what our new GM might think. Let me ask, what's the current GM think? Is it still possible or probable?
It depends on the skill set of the person you hire. Since the one you're interviewing was an Army engineer, I would assume he knows enough about it to be able to handle it. It just depends on what you want to do.
For budget purposes, I think we can put it in. I don't know that I'd go to 90. 80 seemed to me like plenty, but maybe I'm wrong on that too.
It wouldn't hurt to put it in. It's just numbers on paper now.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
we
see a
agree we
problem
still
with
need
putting it
one
in.
though, right?
As of right now, yes.
Yeah, because I was kidding with somebody. I don't want to call Stiegel out of retirement again.
I don't think that's probably going to be possible next time.
I didn't hear all that.
I know you did it. I kind of mumbled it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yep, so I've, in another version, I just updated yesterday. I did throw the supervisor in there. It does take down our reserve, the 150,000 reserve contingency, but we still break even. We still get a balanced budget.
Well, you got this one line, assistant GM and finance manager. That sounds like it's two people.
In the new one I just did yesterday, talking with Dan,
One person?
we've made it into a finance manager.
Okay. So a finance manager and an ops guy. Is the finance manager going to have an assistant accountant?
And they updated, that's something else I was going to tell you guys after reviewing with the supervisors. This new version includes an accountant. That way, it's suggested to the board that we stay with Infomark for this next year, but we get someone in, not only can we get somebody to get trained, it'll give us plenty of time to find one. Like I was saying last time we were here, it's difficult to find people in this market. So it'll give us some time to find somebody, get them trained up, get them working with Infomark along with the finance director. And they'll be able to hopefully, if the GM and everybody agrees, maybe transfer off of Infomark at the end of next year.
On a side note with Infomark, I know you and I have talked about this before. Is there a way to renegotiate the contract so we're not locked into a year? Because if I remember correctly, it starts in October. So if we agree to it in October, we're locked into October of 2024. I'd like to think that our own people would be up to speed before that. Is it possible to renegotiate that to a, I don't know, a monthly or something?
We can try to see, and then you can play it by ear when that time comes. If you're ready to I've always recommended you either do a half year or end of year transition.
I mean, whatever you guys feel is right, but you're going to have to start talking to them rather quickly because it's in October.
Yeah, my guess is, I didn't, without having the contract in front of me, but my guess is there's at least a 30-day, if we're not going to renew the contract as is, it probably has a 30-day
So
before it renews, that we need to let them know, hey, we're wanting to potentially renegotiate this and not renew this contract for the full 12
yeah, I
months.
know, but I think the current personnel should do it as opposed to the incoming personnel who really don't know the deal.
We can reach out to them and see if we can start those talks.
Good.
Let me just write that down. You got it. All right, so I believe you guys have had a chance to look at historics and current and future. From the talks, I believe you guys, for the most part, think it's correct. For the most part, it seems reasonable. If anything's changed, this would be I guess, the time, but I think we're all set in stone. There are a few changes I'll bring up. Nothing very material. But I'd like to save that towards the end if possible. Like I said, these are our admin numbers. These are our community service numbers. I can go through them one by one, but I think for time's sake, I don't know if we do that. Does anybody have any questions on them?
You don't want to,
Huh?
you've already taken care of it, right?
What's that?
Do I ask questions now or do I let it go?
Feel free. Yep, we can discuss. I got a list. All right. So one of the questions I had was life insurance and whether the amounts were correct. On this I've got a new version I'll send out to you. Those have been adjusted. It's very immaterial amounts. Just a question was brought up. Office supply seemed high. So what I've recommended is, I think from what I've seen, we're pretty well stocked, but that's constantly changing. And that is a management issue, and making sure that we're not buying things we don't need to buy. And that's really just a management issue, is making sure that, they keep the cost down. I've put in a little bump in there. That way, those costs are increasing like everything else. But if we don't use those costs, we can take it to the reserve.
So you took the total to what? Because it's all over the place on the sheets. On the expenses.
Total.
The expenses were 150 somewhat, 147 somewhat thousand when you add them all up.
Yeah.
So you raised that? You raised the totals?
No, I did not raise the totals. I left them as they were. That was a question that was brought up to me by a supervisor. And my response to that supervisor is that needs to be managed. Make sure that.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Dan or whoever is running the place designate one person to be responsible for okaying supplies, because it's 146,000 if I added it correctly, and I can't imagine that we didn't spend more money than we should have.
Yep, we'll do.
And I don't know.
Let's see, pool revenue was another question. It seemed a little high at 20 grand if we go back up to revenue. On this line item.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of research with the time I had, and I got some more information, but what it looks like historically, and I'll have to look at this, I just got some information this morning. But the 20,000 doesn't seem unreasonable. It looks as though revenue tends to increase with pool revenue around the summertime. If you look at this $4,000 estimate, that includes October through January, which are our colder months. So what they do is take those amounts and then extrapolate it over the rest of the year. But the actual revenue, I think, will come in higher during the summer months as people want to go to the pool and start getting memberships.
So you're saying the estimated revenue is the one that's off?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I also noticed, just for what it's worth, tennis, when are we going to have a conversation? I know it's not at this meeting, conversation on how much we charge for various facilities. Because here it says, for example, tennis admission revenue, there's nothing there. And I know we're going to have the conversation. Would that be at the next meeting or?
Didn't, haven't you started working on pulling together numbers as to what would be the appropriate, what we believe might be the appropriate fees to charge?
I mean,
only-
looking at the racket club, if we were to charge members the same that we charge for the pool and the fitness, which would be $125 a year, on individual memberships, based on the numbers we have now, that would have been an additional $28,000 of revenue. And then with family resident memberships would be an additional 29,000. So we're looking at about $57,000 of income if we charge.
I want that in there. I think we ought to charge
How
for
do we
rec.
monitor
I'm
that?
just saying, I was just asking when we're going to have the conversation.
Yeah, well, I've asked about it. I think it's something that's needed.
Okay, so we'll see something for the next meeting in writing, right?
How do we
It could,
monitor?
I mean, it can be in, I don't care.
Can I ask you a question? How do we monitor people going in and out of there?
They still have to register for the membership. There's
Right,
just
I
no charge
understand.
for it. So they get the card passes like they would for any of the other
Okay,
facilities.
so one card, there's 10 people going in at night.
The only way to stop that is we're going to have to hire somebody and put them out there and watch them.
Well, we got to.
Because if they don't start taking care of it themselves, that's what's going to happen. We'll go ahead and put
In
somebody
a way,
out there.
it's self-monitoring because the members that are there all the time know who the members are, and they have been policing that and bringing it up to us, and they see people who aren't.
That's all I want to know.
So next meeting.
Thank you.
Fine.
If that's the board's direction, we can go ahead and put in exactly what she just said. If that's what you want for the next pass of the budget.
For us to look at, sure.
I certainly want to look at it.
Me too.
I'd like to also visit, they're going to hate me for this one, the golf memberships, why they get free passes on a lot of stuff.
Well, it was easier to bundle, I think, at one time, but I mean, I agree.
I'm just saying.
I can tell you the rationale
I'd like
for
to
what,
visit that.
I can tell you the rationale for what it is, and that was that there was an attempt to bring more value to the membership, as opposed to people just being able to calculate, well, I pay $5,000, so I pay 100 times, that's $50. If I play 200 times, that's $25. If I play 300, it's less. So it was an attempt to add more value to the membership. If I don't know that makes a whole lot of difference to too many people.
If we're looking ways to raise revenue, I think we ought to look at it.
So you want to add,
So
so you want to add to the pool will be separate. Tennis will be separate. There'll be no more bundling golf and everything, right?
Well, pool's already separate.
Pardon? Yeah,
Pool's already separate.
Pool's
But
separate already.
I would just like to look at it and see what it's like. You know, it may not be the
So-
right thing to do.
a golf, there will not be, because it wasn't sold as a golf membership. It was sold as a full family membership,
Correct.
encompassing everything that Sun Lake has to offer.
It
Well,
gets
maybe that's
you,
wrong.
it gets you the racket, it gets you the racket, well, anybody gets a racket club, but it does get you the fitness membership. And I think you get the member gets pool, but family doesn't. Is that correct? I can't remember
I
exactly.
believe I'm a single. I think I get the pool if I want it. I get,
Yeah, you can get all three.
like
If
that.
you're a golf member, you
If
get
you're a
Oh, yeah,
golf
you get
member,
the
you get
pool and
racquetball.
As of right now, we have 96 individuals who have the all-inclusive membership, and we have 96 family all-inclusive memberships. So we can look at what,
I'm just saying,
Those
maybe we
numbers
should
would
look at
be-
it. I'm not saying we have to do it.
Yeah, we can bring that to the next meeting and see what it affects, you know, if you take it away or add it. It's going to have
Take away the
a,
Fitness center is going to affect a lot of people.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
What was that, Beverly? I didn't hear you.
You were raising the rates for the golf membership by to 10%. We haven't decided yet. And you're taking away the racket club, you're taking away the pool, which I'm now a member of, and you're taking away the fitness center that I'm now a member of. So we're raising the rates and taking away my privileges.
So, yep, exactly. All those considerations will have to come into play, and then that decision will have to be made. Will it affect
Okey-dokey.
memberships, that sort of thing?
Okay.
All right. All right. So it was also brought up that this property expense, which I believe is at, 30,000, be brought up to about 50. I'm good with that. It covers us. Looking at historics, it's not out of line.
Oh, is that the IT support?
No, the property expense.
What page?
That would be under,
Jeez.
Where is it?
2.
Give us a page first.
yep.
Is it called property expense?
It's under finance, and that would be page
Oh, finance? Okay.
page 4. Currently, it's at 40,000, and we're looking at bringing it up to 50, which I think is a valid point.
Oh, property taxes.
Property
Yep.
taxes. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Okay.
Another question was in regards in finance to contract labor.
145,000?
Yep, no, there was so you'll see there was $18,955 in last year's budget. It was brought up just questioning what that amount was. And then there's an estimated of this year of 84,000. That estimated is incorrect. It should not be there. The 18,000 from last year was for temporary services in the finance department with some of the turnover. So I don't foresee possibly that might need somebody, but I don't foresee somebody needing that expense item for next year.
So that
you're taking that
145
out?
is
Where,
not
We
right?
have someone in there
where's
right
it
now.
going? Where's that 84,000, 85,000 going?
So again, the estimated is taken, it was just a calculation done. Please ignore it. It's incorrect. It should not be in there. It was based on previous years and the 145,000 that was budgeted last year. There should be no number in
out.
there. Yep.
So the 145 is out.
145 is out.
Is there any number that goes in
There
there?
should not be anything in there. That's if we bring in
Where's the
somebody,
145 at?
that's on our budget. There was 145,000 budgeted there. Not on that sheet.
Good catch.
Page 4.
Uh-huh.
There should be, yep. And
Oh, I saw the 84.
yeah,
Now go over
disregard
one.
that number.
Take out
Yeah,
the-
disregard the 84.
Yeah.
I was looking for the
And the
145.
That's for
next
temporary
bracket
staffing, which I don't foresee we'll need.
Okay.
Let's see, it was brought up regarding streetlights. This is not on here. We're looking,
What page?
this will be on the updated sheet. It was brought to my attention yesterday.
Oh,
Uh,
but where is
Look-
it on here? Streetlights.
It's not.
That's for utilities. That's the electricity just for those current streetlights that we have.
Oh, so we don't
And
have any.
There's no streetlights. So we're looking at about 200,000 over the next 3 to 4 years. So we're thinking if we do 50 to 60 grand per year, it should get us caught up.
That would be in.
That's for the growth for unit 16.
That'd be in roads and drainage. It
It would be under,
We
be
have
a
a streetlight.
capital
thing here.
item, yeah.
Capital?
Capital.
Yeah, we'd probably capitalize it. If we're doing that much, per year, it's a possibility that we capitalize it.
So two places, you got to pay for the power and then you got to pay for the light. So the light being put in would be capital power expense.
But where is the,
Ray, I got a
It's
question.
not in
no, I'm trying to find
Can
it.
we,
What page? 7?
can we put it like an assessment on every builder that comes in for streetlights?
We're already charging them $7,000
I
permitting fees.
understand that, but they're asking for lights too. I mean, we need a lot of lights here, and I don't know if we got anything. I know that we've been working on lights, you know, from Duke, where we would that. Why can't, well, then why aren't we taking something out of the $7,000 and putting in the streetlights? Okay, if we can't do it, why aren't we doing it?
That's our intention to do it.
That's our intention. So can we please do that?
Where is the
Roads
lighting
and
on this?
drainage,
Huh? What
roads and
page?
drainage.
Oh, it's in the other utility?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you rather treat it as a capital, do it that way?
I think if you buy that much at one time,
We're probably talking $50,000 a year for the next 4 years, something on that order.
Have we got prices from, I mean, I know somebody's been working with Duke.
it's currently, I think, 3,500 roughly, or 3,000, give or
It all
take.
depends on where you put it and if it's on a pole and if you got to put up a pole and if you got a bore and.
So you have to add that to the budget? Or,
Correct.
Excuse me, add it to the capital is what you're planning on
Correct.
doing?
Yeah.
It'll be $50,000 for 4
That's
years.
our intention. If you want it to be more than that, we can do that.
You currently have
Well-
you currently have 86 in road and drainage capital.
Right.
That's got nothing to do with lights.
Not on this
No.
one.
There is a lighting thing here somewhere. I remember seeing, it was 60 some odd thousand.
That's
for lighting.
utilities. That's
Oh,
just
so
for the
utilities.
utility side of it.
Okay. It's in the other budget. I don't have a problem with that.
It's paying for
you
the
think-
street lights we have. But one of the things you have to understand is if we double the number of street lights, you just double the number that goes into expense as well.
For the electricity.
Yeah. So instead of 65, it's going to be 130 plus whatever Duke decides to go up. It's,
Okay, well, we're going to see the capital next time, so
Yes.
it'll be in there.
Correct. All right.
And I understand that number you're working on that number, aren't you? So that number will be tweaked as we learn more about what needs to be done, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, it all depends on where you put them and how many you put in. And if you listen to Duke, they want one every 4 houses in essence.
Yeah, that's overkill as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Well, that's Duke asking for it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think our approach was to put an amount in every year and get as many as we can for that amount at the ideal location.
Yeah, because it's
Typically
not,
are street intersections or curbs in the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we want to prioritize. Are you going to prioritize? Because I assume we have streets with no lighting.
We're looking at it by area, so like the Deer Run area, then the next area
But we have
over.
streets that have no lighting at
Right.
all. So we're going to do those first.
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any grant money for streetlights?
Not specifically for streetlights. If we called it some kind of neighborhood improvement project, we
Safety?
could possibly, yeah.
Well, we should
We
be
can-
looking into that
yeah.
for free money.
Yep.
Well, let's certainly get it in the budget.
Any kind of grant, typically we would still need to put up 50% of the cost.
So
but-
it's not necessarily.
So, you know, if we-
It's not free.
If we budget for
Well,
the
if we get
full amount,
50% of what the
if we-
cost is, it is
yeah.
it's cheaper. Right?
if we can budget for the full amount, if we get a grant, then that just
Yeah.
reduces
Not
our cost.
free.
All right. Another question that was brought up was on page 6 for road and drainage maintenance. It appeared that road materials and supplies was low. Looking into this account, I think it's a legitimate number. Looking at this includes miscellaneous supplies and whatnot that the guys use on the roads. I think what fell into that off the top of my head was for the ADA, the disability, the yellow pads with the little
Ramps.
bumps on them, that was included in there. The similar items to that where they're just doing quick little small repairs. There was a number of credit card usage that Bob's group used, but I think that 40,000 is a good number.
So this utilities, streetlights
Yeah,
up
what is
above
that?
at 65, that number will go up also then?
I think about, yeah, somewhere in that $10,000 range, nothing huge.
Okay.
I think 10,000 would be plenty, if not even a little less.
Okay. And the 500,000 in R&M drainage?
Yep, that, that number there, it's really hard to tell. You know, with the hurricane, it brought a number of things to light. We think we've taken care of a lot of the issues that we'd seen that were brought up during that time frame. We think there might be some room in there to take some of that amount to the reserve eventually. We don't think we're going to use it all. But if you guys get to a point in the new GMC, something we're not seeing, there's money there.
A lot of it depends on if you wind up with a situation. There are several around that could potentially happen. Edgewater for one, the property behind Hampton Woods for another. Those are buried issues that we don't know when they might pop up. And each one of them is probably $500,000. So it just depends on if you really want to rip all that stuff out and start replacing it. I don't see doing it at this point in time until we have to. Because it's not going to be any worse when you have to do it than it is if you did it now. So to me, you wait until you have to. But it's hard to budget for that. You don't know.
Before we go to the next one, I do have a general question. When are we going to discuss merit raises? Next meeting? Merit raises. You got all different percentages down here. I assume.
We've done in the
I assume we
budget.
have to decide on something. Do we do that now or next meeting or whenever you?
I would say for a future meeting, we've put 5% in here. We think that's plenty. You know, it's not going to be 5% across the board. It's, you know, some are going to get 1, 2, if any, and then you'll have your 3, 4s, and 5s, depending on the employee's performance.
Oh, so 5% is the number you got?
Yeah,
that's what we put in. You have to understand though that there's compression issues as that really, I'm not sure I want to talk about it in a public meeting right now, but when you have people who are making minimum wage or close to, when you raise them up, then you have other people that are making close to that get raised as well. So it's exactly what Jimmy and Mike were talking about on the golf course. We have some other issues with things that we've done in the past that we probably need to unwind, I guess is the best way to say it. I'd really like to talk to you guys individually about that sort of thing before we actually bring it to a public meeting. But we will do so. We are already ready to address that.
That's fine.
All right. So those were some of the questions that were brought up that I just want to bring up, and I'll probably send to you guys today or tomorrow. Let you see, like I said, there's not the bottom line, it still balances, but it just took away from the reserve contingency. I think there were valid points. But it is, yeah, like the supervisor position is, you know, not this budget here, but the one I adjusted yesterday includes space for somebody. So it's up to the general manager that comes in. If they want to pull that trigger and hire a supervisor, they've got the room to. If they choose not to, it just goes to a bottom line.
You asked my opinion. My opinion is this: you probably don't necessarily need it as an operational thing. You might need it as a successor issue. One of the challenges that we have is we don't have succession management, and we wind up having to go out and look for people or drag old retired people back in. We shouldn't be doing that.
Yep, no, that's definitely something to consider, yeah. All right, so for capital outlays, you'll see we've got, let's see, 60,000 for admin.
Why don't we just do capital at the next meeting when we can see where.
We can do that, and I'll bring
Where's
the 5-year plan as well. I think it's a little early to bring it, but I think it's a good start. I think these numbers here are reasonable with talking to the different managers. Nothing seems, just real quick, nothing seems extravagant. So I'll leave it at that. I think they're reasonable capital numbers, and I'll get you the exact detail when I send out the updated the updated budget.
Yeah, I think that's correct. There's not a lot of capital in here. One thing I probably am remiss, I should have pointed out when you were looking at the golf budget. I think this is the first time I know of that there has not been a contribution from the district to the golf operation.
Right.
Ever. So it is a break-even budget, and we need to, if we can do so, we should maintain that as we look at the revenue and expenses going on, because that's where we need to be. And those guys have done a good job of trying to get there, which was the direction of the board. So I think this is the first board that's really addressed that to the extent that you guys need to get it together.
All right, that's all I have. Is there any questions regarding the general budget? If you guys have questions, got my number, please feel free to call me anytime. If you see anything, like Dan was saying, I think this is, for the most part, 90% a good budget. You know, I think the questions that were brought up were good. It always helps to have a second set of eyes or third set of eyes and just to question you. So, you know, any contributions are appreciated. All right, let's go on to the utilities. All right, it's very similar to the general budget in that we try to be as conservative as we can. We've tried to make all revenue numbers very reasonable to hit. Again, with economic pressures that are outside of our controls. We did look, so one of the issues we've had our biggest revenue numbers is the metered sales for water and metered sales for sewers. We are having new meters installed. These are the most accurate ones on the market. Our sales guy is saying that we could see considerable revenue. I don't know if he's being a sales guy or, but we do think there will be an increase, but based on our current meters now, it's hard to determine. So we went very conservative with those numbers just to be safe. So we think we could get a pickup there. And that's actually across all items. We think there's some pickup room. You guys have had a chance to look at them. I have a couple of questions and some answers from supervisors I wanted to address. Again, I've thrown in an ops guy for the operations side on a new budget, not this one, but the one I got yesterday that I'll send out to you guys. Just like the general side. Same with the life and health. There's been slight adjustments there, but nothing material. Manhole repairs seem low. We discussed this, and Dan discussed this yesterday. We believe that number is reasonable after looking at the amount that have been checked, fixed, and what's left. We think it's a reasonable number for manhole repairs.
On the manholes, we still have to do Tanglewood, right?
Right.
How much will it cost to inspect all those? Approximately.
Costs nothing to inspect them. It costs a lot to repair them if they need it. They are newer than the ones we have in the district, and they are shallower. So my guesstimate would be that we're finding maybe 50% of the ones we look at now need repair. Since they're newer and shallower, and the 50% that need repairs are averaging around $2,000 a piece. So I would say you're probably looking at 25% of them at maybe 2,000. So max 50 of them at $2,000. So you're talking $100,000. My intention is we got 20, they're coming next week, I believe it is, to do 23 more. They inspected 46. They found 23 of them that needed it. That'll put us up to, what do we calculate, 175, I think, out of 230 that have been done in the district in the last 5 years. I'm hopeful to get another 50 done, inspected this year, and repair whatever we have in them. So
So the
you
goal-
should be close to the end in the district itself before you even start next year, if
Right.
I'm able to
So
get
you
it done.
think the 150 will get the district complete, hopefully? And then we
Yes.
can address Tanglewood in the next year's budget.
Correct. And we basically put 100,000 in there for next year's budget. 50 is manhole, 100 is 50 is a lift station repair, and 100 is manhole. It's in the same deal.
So this is manhole and lift station.
Correct. And just a caveat under that, we've done all of Unit 2, which is at the front of the district, which is the oldest section. So we think that's where the oldest ones that had the most damage were most likely at. So
Up until last year, it was, we see a problem, go fix these. So that, hopefully we got the worst. And then we said, okay, start in the oldest first and come to the newest. So we're now to the point where if they look at 50, they're finding 25 that are bad. Not necessarily bad, I said, or leaking and need to be sealed. So hopefully our experience will get better as they get newer. That's what we're thinking we're seeing anyway. But I would like to have as many done this year in this year's budget as we can, and then use next year's budget to work on Tanglewood. If we can't get all of Tanglewood, maybe we can get half of Tanglewood. It's an ongoing deal.
Well, if you think the 150 is right, that's fine.
I hope it's right.
I mean, I know it's your best guess. I
It's
understand.
it's a swag.
I understand.
all right. And so currently we'll have about 30,000 for reserve contingency. We think that number will go up. Like I said, I think our revenue number could be lower than what it actually will be. And I think our expenses are probably slightly higher. If it's managed well, could come in less, and we can throw all those excesses into reserves.
Let me just ask a couple questions. The life and health insurance is going, did you check that one? It's going up 92%?
Yeah, it's gone up. Real quick, I don't have the number.
I mean, is that a
Without looking.
legitimate number? to
No,
go
I
up?
looked at them yesterday and adjusted them, so I'll show that on the new budget.
So there's an adjustment coming? Is that
Yeah.
the same thing on?
Yeah,
the
it's
retirement
immaterial. Yeah,
contributions?
nothing moving the needle.
Okay, so that's
but
going to
I did
change a
look
little
at 'em,
bit?
Yep.
Capital, did you discuss moving the Florida Avenue water line replacement, which is a one-time deal, to capital, take it out of the budget?
It's in capital and so are the water
So
meters.
that's moving to capital.
It's currently in capital.
It is?
It's $220,000.
220,000?
Yeah, it's in the total capital projects and equipment.
There's
Maybe
500.
so this is all capital? Oh,
Yeah.
I misread it?
No, when you said it,
There it is.
Yeah.
The total is 520. 220 of that is the Florida Avenue water line.
Okay.
It was in this year's budget and we elected to use those elsewhere. We could probably do so again. It's problematic, but it's not necessarily catastrophic. So that's kind of a,
No, that's fine. I didn't think it was in capital, but I wasn't.
And there's
reading it
some
correctly.
possibility there might be some grant money out there
Right.
to replace that. So that needs to get looked at.
For the next meeting, can I see a truck breakdown? All the trucks, we seem to be buying trucks every year.
Yep, so I dug into that as well. Each employee, including techs, will have their own truck. Utilities feels that's the best way, instead of double them up in one truck. One person can go out there, one person, they feel that's the best route. I know it's contentious.
How many trucks?
It can be,
How many utility
There
guys?
is
do
no
we have?
reason for us to buy another truck. And I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? Every guy doesn't need a truck because there's no one there every day. We keep spending money on vehicles every year, right? When I first started, we had half that. There is no reason for us to keep buying trucks. We just bought 3.
yeah, and if that's the route you guys want to go, we can take it out.
I want to take it out.
I wanted to bring what
I'll take it out.
I don't either.
Huh?
I
You
need more
don't
than
even
that.
know why we need it.
I'd just like
We
to
will
know.
find
Tell me why
out,
we
we
need it.
will find out what
Yeah,
we
well,
needed.
tell me why we need it before you say you want it.
Well, I can tell you that I am not satisfied with the way things have been maintained here over the past 10 years.
Well, it's not because of vehicles.
Well,
It's 'cause of money,
you don't know that.
right? And it's because the boards didn't want to spend the money.
Well,
Okay, I know that.
So
So
we
don't
can,
tell me I don't know that.
so we can,
I would just like to have.
that's something we can,
Can I ask this?
I can send
At
you
the
a
next
breakdown I
meeting,
did.
can we
Yeah.
just have a justification
I've
by
been here.
somebody
You have-
why each guy needs
Me
a
either.
truck?
I never heard that one.
No, that,
You have lots of trucks that are 150,000 miles on them.
that's somebody's.
It all depends on whether
so
you want a new
where-
one
where
or
do we
whether you
park
want to
these things?
continue to spend money on an old
Down,
one.
down at the maintenance hall.
Actually, one of the one that we have, the motor's blown in and out. While it's sitting there, you might think you got a truck, but what you got is a trash.
piece of junk.
So
I just want,
yeah, I put it together, a breakdown. I'll shoot it over to you guys. So I believe Joe's.
and we have parking facilities for all these trucks?
Hmm. So Joe's truck, I think, has 200,000 plus miles on it and is braking
We
often.
may need them, but I got to,
But
have to show.
here's the
it to
thing,
us.
what I'm gonna do is, this is just to bring it to you guys. And if you vote, that's what the managers are saying they need. If you disagree, we can change them, but I just want to bring it to you.
Everybody wants a new vehicle every year. It's,
So
keep spending,
No.
spending.
most of these were, I think, 2015s and 2017s. We've got some 05s and 07s that I think have reached their end of life. So it's something to consider. I'm just throwing it out in front of you guys. If you disagree, we can
Well,
knock it down.
But the other piece of that is you can't get a new truck now. You can order it,
Right.
but we've had one ordered for over a year now for security.
Yeah, it's been roughly that long.
Two,
So I will get you the breakdown and who's driving them. And that way you guys can make your
And
determination.
mileage and
and
repairs.
mileage.
No,
Get
when
mine.
they take them home, nobody's taking any vehicles home, correct?
That is not correct.
So we're allowing employees to take vehicles home.
The ones
And
who are
we're
on,
paying for the gas.
the ones who are on call.
Well, it should be only one person on call, right? Or is it two?
No, there are
Oh,
two on
two.
call.
So they take them home every night?
That's my understanding.
Are we allowed to do that? Are
We
we
never
covered
did
in case something
before.
happens?
So
I think your previous manager allowed that to happen, yes.
Are we covered in case something happens?
Yes, that's something that we're working on. And in that new policy manual that you all have received that we've rewritten, the language that is going into that has come directly from our labor attorney. I had him review, it was just late last week or early this week. And he said that there's nothing inherently wrong with what we have in there, but we just firmed up the language a little bit for the new one. So I think that we're as sufficiently covered as we could be or can be at this moment. I would agree with Dan. I think that when we found out that they were going home on call, that was news to a lot of us. But here we are. So we're working to make sure that we have the district covered as best we can for
Yeah.
anything that would maybe come up that was unforeseeable.
There's a couple of challenges there. One is that once that vehicle leaves Sun and Lake, you don't really know what they're doing with it,
Right.
where it's going, nor whom they're picking up or whatever. So our intention would be to limit this as much as we possibly can.
I would suggest that we put a mileage log someplace so we can make sure that
They
it's
do
not
have
being
one.
used for personal usage.
We also did recently put a more sophisticated tracking device on every
GPS.
district vehicle that we have,
Correct.
that we can pull it up. So should we ever have a sneaking suspicion or some reason to believe that
Good.
needed to be checked or looked at, we can access that now. That's something that we just did very recently.
That's good.
We're working on limiting it to the extent that we can. I'll put it
I
that
didn't know
way.
they were taking them
I didn't either.
home.
Is there anyone else?
Yep, so I'll get you guys that breakdown. That'll include both utilities and the roads. Roads really doesn't have as many. I think they've got four or five.
I think,
No, they got gators.
wait a minute, let me see if I,
And they usually are dump trucks and stuff like that.
Gators. Yeah.
the R&M, on page 3, the R&M equipment sewer, that $270,000, is that a good number?
Yep.
It's half of what we did this year, but I don't know if that's got insurance stuff or what have you. But 270,000 is a big number, especially when you look at 21 and 20.
Page 3. Page 3, everybody.
I'm sorry, page 3.
Yep.
The fourth one down. Is it the fourth? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I mean, in 20 and 21, it was 90, 20, 19, 20, it was 62. It went out of hand this year, but I guess that's because of hurricanes.
Yeah, it's got some FEMA stuff in there.
But is 270 the right
Is
number?
that
unless
ARPA funding?
going forward?
It's FEMA related.
FEMA?
Yeah, so there's, I think, about 60,000 in damages in that account.
But that doesn't come close to that 588.
No.
I mean, the original budget for 22, 23 called for 85, and we're saying 23, 24, 270.
Yeah,
Seems like
I
it's a
think we've
big
done
jump.
a number of repairs this year that hadn't been done in the past. I think that's an account like the office expense, supplies needs to be managed.
Number just seems high.
It does, but
Well-
you also are facing an older system that we've come to find out is,
There's probably some ARPA money in there too.
Well, that's what I was.
yeah,
wondering.
there is some ARPA. I apologize for that, but
Okay, that's where I
there
thought
is-
that money was going.
yeah, there's some room there too, I believe, that we could take to the bottom line for reserves.
One of the things that we haven't added into this, that you're gonna be getting money back from FEMA sooner or later. And there's,
Right, but the FEMA money for the
it's a
most part,
receivable.
for the most part, that's going to be spent too. A lot of it's going to be spent, not
A
all.
lot of it's already been spent.
Already been
That's my
said.
point. And
Fine,
the,
fine.
and
It
the
goes to
rest
the
of
bottom
it,
line.
the rest of it will be spent, a lot of it will be spent this year. And that will be coming back in next year's budget as well.
So we haven't received anything from FEMA money wise?
We've received, about 60,000, just off the top of my head.
Right.
It's around there. So this budget and those 270 numbers, it is high, but I didn't want to handcuff whoever's in there. And if they can manage it and it doesn't need that expense, they can take it to the bottom line. I think these past year, we've noticed a number of issues that I mean, it's been brought up before. I don't know if it's been
I think
taken care of.
I think you're overstating it substantially.
We'll take another look. I mean, I have no problem with taking another look at it, but I didn't want to handcuff anybody that's in that position. If they really need to do those repairs, it's an older system.
Okay, that's fine.
And it's just really these, yeah, it's a management question if it's too much. All right, so first pass, any big questions, concerns?
I think you did a pretty good job.
Yep,
All right.
I'm, for being the first pass, I'm very quite happy with where the status of both
I
budgets.
am too.
All right,
And,
next,
yep, I'll get those questions, concerns. I'll get something back to y'all.
I've got an issue I'd like to bring up. Can I bring it up? It pertains to the budget.
Huh?
It pertains to the budget
Sure.
in general. So I think the budget's really good. I think the revenues and match up pretty good to the expenses. But let me remind everybody that last year, we took a 5% increase in the rates, sewer, water and sewer rates. We took a 5% increase in the assessments. This coming year, in this budget, we have another 5% increase in rates and another 5% increase in assessments. And we have not taken one dime and put it towards the potential water plant scenario that we're going to have to address. And that's fine. I mean, I think what we're doing is good, but I know 7 years down the road, that seems like a long ways away. But I can tell you, if we don't figure out something and start collecting monies, we're going to shock these people in 7 years with an enormous amount of money that they're going to have to give.
I thought through the increase that we put in place, that a certain amount of that was going into an account.
So did I.
There's
I
the
thought the same
Europe,
thing.
there's a Europe account, and I believe my understanding is Typically it's not supposed to be touched, but I think, and I might be incorrect, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but
I mean, look at the budget.
I think it's open to be touched, but we haven't touched it, but.
You guys, all you gotta do is look at the budget. What he just gave you says the expenses are X and the revenues, including all these increases, is Y.
Yep.
And put together, it shows it's $60,000 surplus.
Right.
So to make believe that nothing, that we're preparing ourselves for a huge investment is wrong. I mean, I played around with numbers. Let's say it's a $30 million plant. Let's say these guys are great and they can work it down to 20 after grants. And then let's say, according to our meter report or meter purchases that we're doing, there's 3,900 meters that we're buying. If you do all the math, take 3,900 meters and divide it all down, we have to come up with $22.90 per month per household, per meter. And that gets us to approximately $1 million payoff each year, which I'm not even sure that may be low. I mean, we don't know what rates are going to be in 7 years. We don't know what the cost of this $30 million project will be in 7 years. But we know, I can tell you, if it's only $1 million payoff, we have to come up with $1 million a year. We've got to come up with $23 per month, and we got to do it between now and 7 years. So my conversation with these guys was that we should put on the water bill a special assessment, and I don't even know if this is possible, but a special assessment and spell it out for the water plant facility, and start getting to that point. If we don't start now, it's just going to become worse and worse. Now, my math may be wrong, and I've asked Dane to check my math out and come back with better numbers based on what we know today. But I don't think we can wait any longer.
Your math isn't incorrect, and your rationale is correct. However, you're restricted as to how you can go up. We would have to once we get approval to do an SRF, then you got to get a rate study done so that you can go up. You just can't go up without justification. So you're correct. We need to do it. We're in the infancy, I guess is the way you would say it, that once we get, and we now have the Florida Rural Water Association final draft, we're putting amendments to it, not amendments, additions to it, which are the things that have to get attached to it to go to the state. Once you go through that process and they say, okay, this is what we'll do, then you know how much you got to do. Then you got to go do a study to show you how you get there in the 7 years. You're entirely correct. You're just in front of it.
So how long does this take, all the study and all that stuff? I mean, we have a year to start it?
Yeah.
I mean, or can they do
Basically.
it in 6 months?
Basically, yeah, we're in the process now. We have the draft that's done. We have appendices that we have to put on it, which include our financials and all that sort of stuff. Once you get that, then you do a rate study, and they say exactly as you did last year, you're going up 5% a year. Now they're going to plug that on top of it.
No, the 5% that we've agreed on for the next 5 years, and the assessment's going up 5%, all that's going to do is run the regular business. It's got nothing. I mean,
the rate study
said, so far, that's what's proven out.
The rate study said that it would go up, included $10 million for a water plant in 5 years. You're not wrong, and your number's right, and you're going to have to go up. I don't think 23 is probably enough.
I'm
but
not sure how much
it's a good
grants we're
start.
going to, we don't know how much money in grants we're going to
Correct.
get either. So, I mean,
That's true. You know, you're thinking entirely correctly. It's just at this point in time, we can't.
So
once we get through the SRF process.
If we can't do it yet, all I'm saying is the longer we wait,
the more it has to go up per year.
The more it's going to hurt.
Yes, you're correct.
So we're probably a year out before we can start.
Probably.
But we're ready to send in
Correct.
the report to SRF.
Correct.
And they will tell us what they will give us in the way of
That's correct.
Financial aid.
And they're going to say, they want to look at our financials, and they're going to say to us, well, you can't do it unless you do this. You got to go get a new rate study. I mean, it all bills on top of that. That's been the whole holdup all along, is that we have to have, you can't just decide you're going to build one. You have to have justify that you need it.
But we are at that point where we're going to SRF.
We are correct, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because
Yeah,
I know that we were under the assumption that money is there, that's being collected there, and that's not true. It isn't.
But you talk about this fund. Is there any money in the fund that you can't use?
Sorry, what was that?
We talk about this fund. Is there any money in the fund that you can't?
The Euro fund.
I think it is, I believe from my understanding is it's been opened. It was kind of, it's our money. We can use it for whatever.
That's the way
It's not supposed to be, but I think there was a vote on that at one point. I might be incorrect.
There is no more Euro.
correct.
I mean, there is by title only.
It's a title.
Okay, so there is no fund.
No, there's no.
Other than a bank account that says Euro.
To use the capital improvement fund. That is what it's officially known as now. The Euro fund is gone. It is the capital improvement fund. That's what it's called.
And
Is there any money in the capital fund?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's,
There's what, how much?
I'd have to look at.
Today
what it
it's
is today.
11.
It's a few, it's,
that's our 11 million.
Yes,
whatever.
okay, all right.
Now, it is possible, I'm told, that we might be able to increase water rates depending on what we get back without having to do another rate study. I'm not sure. If they do, that's the first one.
Yeah,
I've
my
heard.
understanding is similar to what Ray was saying. And I think it was discussed last year when I first came on, maybe doing a special assessment for certain
on the
items
bill.
like a wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
I think we need to research some more, but I think we were talking about it last year when Chris was here about doing something like
I
that.
think if we can spell it out on the bill in black and white, so everybody knows what this additional charges
And
are.
those funds have to be specifically
Right.
used for
Exactly.
waste, and they
Because
can't
we
be
got to come
touched.
up with $1 million a year at least. We don't have it right now. We don't have a nickel. Well, we have 62,000.
Well, that's something we can research some more. I think, like I said, I think it was brought up and it was okayed last year, but, or at least possibly doing that, but we'll research it some more.
Yeah, I think it's also important to keep in mind that this is a very conservative budget, both on the utility and on the general fund. Because we've been estimating for so long, we don't really know what new meters are going to look like. What we're told is that we should get additional revenue. How much, we don't know. I don't want to
It would be
budget
nice
it.
to be ahead of the game as opposed to behind the game.
It would be. That is correct.
I do have another thing to bring up, but it's not budget, it's something else.
Well, I'd like, during the discussion too from the
Okay,
board,
that's fine.
because I'd like to move into it's not really an add-on. We don't have any add-on items. We don't have any petitions or communications. All of you are scheduled with Mr. Boz for interviews coming up.
Ariel.
Who?
Ariel.
Ariel. When we had people come in and talk, what were the results of it?
So obviously everyone got the same candidate profiles. There were 7 candidates across the board. Mr. Raymond Bossert was the leading candidate
How many votes?
all the way across.
How many votes did he get? How many number ones did he get? We were supposed to hear back, right? No?
She has that.
Yeah. So for across all.
No
six-
names. I don't-
No names. Across the board, he was the number 1 candidate. He was the number 1 pick across the board,
Unanimous.
unanimously.
Who was number 2?
That one was a little bit of a toss-up. So Mr. Jara, I believe, and then Mr. David Straw were 2 of the others that were 2 of the higher ranked. I would say they were somewhat tied. The complication that I believe we run into there is that Mr. Jara, we've never received a candidate profile there. So if
Right.
you recall in your book, it's noted in there that he was a late addition into.
Right, that was supposed to be forthcoming.
Correct. And it has not forthcome. So we can do with that what you want. Obviously, we've had multiple conversations with the third party firm.
Here's my concern.
Mr. Strahl was at 236,000,
That is correct. Mhm.
which
We don't want to pay.
far exceeds our expectations.
This was what I was going to bring up, so I'll just tie it right in. I think to interview one candidate is not a good idea. To only interview one candidate. And the reason I say that is because you have nothing to compare it to.
Okay.
I think if you have two candidates, and I would leave it up to whomever to choose, but if you have two candidates, you can say, I really like this guy as opposed to this guy, and you can make a much better decision. I think one guy is the wrong way to go. What happens if we don't like him?
So a couple things, if I might add. So, and this, it's strictly my opinion, so do with it whatever you feel appropriate. 7 candidates in the book, right? Unanimously across the board, this was our number 1 pick. Here's what I will say. Could we fly in? We could fly in as many candidates as we want. Is that a respectful use of the district's money? If unanimously across the board, out of 7 people, this was the number 1 selected? In my opinion, no. In an email I sent out a couple of weeks ago, something I added in there additionally, all supervisors, all 5 supervisors at any point had every right, have still, I won't even say past tense, current tense, have every right to reach out to any number of the candidates in that book.
Right.
Their emails on there, their phone numbers on there, and that's what I said. Do with it as you please. If you want to interview all 7, you have every right to do so.
I don't want to, I just want to have 2 to choose from. So
And
I can
you-
choose 1. I'm not looking for more than 2.
The only problem I have with going on with any more interviews is that, in my opinion, no one else qualified. Jara has not put in the needed requirements that he was told to submit to us on multiple occasions, and he still hasn't done it. The other candidates far exceeded what we are willing to pay. So to interview any more than Mr. Bassert, to me, is fruitless.
Well, we might as well just hire him.
Well,
Not necessarily.
I want us to, here's what I would suggest. I would like us, we're all scheduled to interview. Once you have completed your interview, I would like you to get with Ariel, and I'd like this done by Monday, if at all possible, to tell her if there is some reason that he is not qualified to do the job. If the majority of you come back and say that he is qualified to do the job, then I would like to start contract negotiations with him next week so that we have a contract to bring to you on May 30th as to whether you want to approve his hiring or not. That's what I propose.
I agree with that.
I'll just say that we made a mistake last time when we tried one candidate.
Amen.
Huh?
Amen.
We made a
I think
mistake
the
last time.
differential last time is you only looked at one candidate. This way you've looked at 7, 2 took themselves out.
Resumes can be very deceiving. You know that.
Absolutely they can.
And we certainly can make a mistake again, but that's what we gotta try to do.
Yeah.
Try to do what's best.
If you only see one candidate, what's your comparison? What are you comparing him to, Chris?
The other
would
7
be
that were
good.
in the book. I think in the last instance, because I understand what you're saying with the last instance, but I think in that particular instance,
Why does one guy
you
come
had
up
one
with
candidate,
like this?
you considered one candidate, and that one candidate got hired. In this particular instance, there were 20 some odd candidates, right? So by the time they had got down to us, we said, okay, they said, these are the ones who have passed your required checks. These we feel are the firm felt were the cream of the crop. We had 7 to choose from. You can call all of them today still. If you want to feel them out, you can still interview.
Listen, I sound like I'm in the minority here, so that's fine. But I mean, I would tell you that I even question the 7 candidates. I question that company that we dealt with.
I do too.
Why would they give us 3 candidates out of 7 who had no chance from a salary standpoint? I mean, do they really think that a guy making $250 was going to come here for $130?
Only the gentleman making 2 something and earning 1,000 or whatever that number is could tell you that. I can't be the judgment maker for what someone's personal finances are and are not and what they're willing to
I understand that,
accept.
but I'm just questioning the candidates.
If you completely read the deal, the ones that were making that kind of money were no longer employed making that kind of money. They were looking for a job.
But that's just a revolving door because
Exactly.
they will come here.
I'm going to make the
Satisfy
assumption
them.
Mr. Bossert's on the other end of the line and hearing all
Well,
this.
that's true. too.
I would be if I were him, I'll tell you that.
The
I
one
just
thing
hope
is,
everybody likes it.
wait a minute, the one thing is we all agreed to him, right?
Right.
Number one.
Across the board
So
as
I
an
think we
obvious
should bring him in
individual.
and then go from there.
He's
And
he's
if
already,
if
he's
you
already,
hate him, you can
he's
do
already
it.
scheduled. You're
Yeah,
scheduled.
Right, I know he's scheduled, Greg, but I mean, we all agreed to it, so let's bring him in and let's.
We only had 3 candidates really to choose from.
Listen,
I say that we had to choose from those 3.
That's
Right.
all we had.
We had no.
We didn't have 7, it was 3.
If this doesn't work, you can always start over.
Oh, no.
Great.
And it is part of their,
That's part of the deal.
if we don't like this batch of candidates, we can tell them we want to start over.
Which is part of the
Yes,
reason
we
we
can.
contracted them, which is part of the reason, that was a major contributing factor as to why they were chosen as other firms. Because if we're not happy, we can put the lines back out.
And I think
I
the,
still have an opinion, if you interview him, which you are all scheduled to do, and you find through your interview with him that he is not qualified to do this job, then tell Ariel that, and we will have a consensus of some form. And if the consensus said he's suitable to be hired, then I want to start contract negotiations with him.
Making the assumption he is a walk-on candidate, you don't want to not proceed and lose him to somebody else, because somebody that is disqualified is probably not going to be sitting around waiting on us to decide.
And it is my understanding he does have a potential other offering that he is considering. That could be,
How do you know?
But that could be
Right.
anybody. We could hire somebody and they quit in 6 months. I mean, it's just,
That's entirely accurate.
yeah.
You just don't know.
So he may be coming down and then still tell us no anyways.
Correct.
that's possible, yes.
Yeah, well.
Because we may not be able to satisfy his financial requirements. I don't know that.
That's correct.
We don't know that, but until we get, if in fact he is considered satisfactory from your interviews, then I want to proceed with a negotiate a contract and bring it back to you on May 30th. And you can say that at that time, yay, nay, and we can go back from there.
But I do think it's important to note that, as Ariel said, he was the number one candidate on all 5 of your.
Right. And
I
that's
mean, if there was another candidate that was available to us that met the requirements, maybe we could say that we want to interview that person too, but there is no one else that met it.
No.
The rest of them are either too expensive or didn't submit. And if they're not submitting their information, to me, that's a red flag right there, that something's not right, or else
Right.
he's not that interested in being here, and therefore then I don't care for him either.
I should also note that we asked the senior people here to rate him as well, or rate the candidates as well. And he was, while not unanimous, he was the number one choice on 4 of the 5, and the other one he was number 2. So, I mean, it's obvious this was the most qualified candidate from the batch that we looked at. That doesn't mean he's the most qualified candidate in the universe, but that does mean he is in that number. And again, he may get here and nobody likes him. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, because I've talked to him quite a few times. Seems like a nice guy.
So based on that, let's get you.
And sorry to interrupt, but just real quick, is the plan, do we want to have a contract for review to propose, or is that on May 30th, the May 30th meeting is the vote we're voting on who we're going to, or to enter into contract negotiations? Do you want to see a proposed contract on May 30th, or do you
I
just
want
want
to
to
start the
decide?
contract negotiations with Mr. Bog, with your assistance, Ariel's, with these other people.
Gotcha.
And
Have a contract on the 30th to review.
have a contract on the 30th to approve or not approve. I mean, it's going to have everything's going to be answered. This is a salary. This is what we're offering him. This is a start date. This is everything. Come May 30th, I want to have that in place so that when we come in here, you will be able to vote on it.
So we're going to vote on it before he sees it, right?
No, it'll be a negotiation with him. And I'm going to make the assumption that we would be able to keep you guys informed as we talk to him. This isn't going to be a shot in the dark.
So what we see on May 30th is already done.
You will already know it. I mean, he
Huh?
will have agreed to it, assuming you approve it.
So it's already done.
If you approve it.
If you approve, you still, you
If
have
you
to,
give the guy the offer and you spell it out, you're going to come back to him and say, well, the board decided to change it?
yeah,
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, you gotta be.
he's got to be up,
Kidding?
we got to be upfront that the board's
Yeah.
got to have approved the contract.
Yeah,
I got to know what it is that he is willing to accept.
I don't know how else you can do it.
I don't either.
So we're going to have the contract in hand before the 30th. So we can look at it.
Ideally.
Yes.
I
It
would,
won't be much different than what's already in existence.
Yeah,
right.
it'd be very similar to what we've used on everybody before. It just spells out what we're willing to pay him and the benefits associated with it.
How long it's
And
for and all that stuff.
yeah, just so we, you share it with us.
Yeah. I don't see any reason that should be
Oh, no,
in the
I
dark from you
understand
guys.
that.
Is it possible that we can see the contract before the May 30th meeting and before,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That's what-
before,
Yeah.
and
That's what I
before
just-
you give it to him?
Well, he's going to be sitting on the other side of the table and negotiating. I mean, he's going to know what it says. And Basinger will.
Well, then why shouldn't
partic-
should we not agree to it beforehand? No? Okay,
I
fine.
can't answer
Whatever.
any-
Basinger is
can't-
going to assist us in negotiating the contract, as I understand that's part of their contract
Right.
with us.
Correct. Can you use your microphone?
We have a managing company managing the golf course. Well, there wasn't a single person on there that had golf experience. Well, but
But we don't want that. We
The whole-
want, this is a district. We need a district.
we have managing partners that are supposed to be
Jesus.
taking care of that.
That's
If
right.
they don't take care of it satisfactorily, our job is to get rid of them.
Damn.
Yeah, you guys really need to speak into your microphone so that it is on record.
So let's proceed with our interviews. Get with Ariel by Monday, you interview and reflect on what you heard. Get with Ariel by Monday of next week. And if it's satisfactory that he meets the requirements of the job, then we will attempt to start contract negotiations and find out what it's going to take in order to land him.
Yeah,
It's-
he may hate us and not want to come.
Pardon?
After listening to this,
Well, he may
I'd have to
not.
think about it.
He may not, but that's where we're at. Anything else? Any discussion to it from the board? Motion to adjourn? Well, hold on. Mr. Norcross?
Bill Norcross, resident. I'm not on very solid ground when you're talking about budget, because I just saw some of the numbers there and pretty upsetting, really, as a member. Last year, we went through the increase as far as membership was 5, 5, and 3, or 3, 3, and 5. Now I look at some of the increases as 20%, which is $500. Now, the other proposal to bring it down to the 5% is about $200, which I think people could be reasonably, especially now I'm in that 80-year-old bracket, thank you very much, that people can understand that you have to have an increase to keep up with the cost of everything. Now, the panel here has also brought up some things. Ray brought up some stuff. Mike, Greg, whether it be grants or anything else. As soon as I hear about grants and we have to do something about the future savings because we have tremendous capital expenses, it's really scary. So if you take the course, the people down south here, it's, what's it? Oh, good grief, it's a thing. Anyhow, they were getting $400 million as far as grants for water and sewer. Lake Placid, coming. And just say to yourself, how in the hell did they get $400 million in grants? Because they applied for it. And that's what we have to do. We have to really beat the bushes for grants, because we cannot tax everybody and assess everybody to death, because we are in financial problems, government-wise, country-wise, believe me. It could all fall apart. So really, it's enlightening to see you guys are addressing the problems. I think that something has to be done. I think we have to keep things under control. And as far as a person who's been here for 20 years, I've seen this thing rerun every single time. And it's very alarming, because we have a management company here running this golf course, and they want every nickel and dime they could possibly get. Well, that's okay, fine. But you got to have a balance here. You got to have, we used to run a deal, it was about 60-40. 60% memberships, 40% transit people. Well, now, the emphasis is not really on membership, which is wrong. And I think Greg has brought that up. You got to have membership, because you got, Beverly's brought it up, you got the money in hand. Everybody understands that. We can have bad weather, we have nobody playing the golf course. So you have to take a look at what these people are trying to do, and is it for their enhancement or not? And as far as observing what was going on, and it's very frustrating to see the golf course actually making money, doing very well. We got somebody that's maintaining the golf course, good ideas, good progressive stuff. But we have a restaurant that is not very good. We've had turnover. We can't hire a half decent chef to stay in there. We've had all kinds of problems. We're running a big deficit. I don't know, at the beginning of the year was $250,000. So the golfers are going to pay for this. We've got to have a good restaurant. Good luck to Mike Lemire. I think he's possibly capable of it. But
That's why we've asked them for a balanced budget. And that's what they're trying to provide.
well, it all depends on how you're going to look at it as balanced budget. You know what I mean? Because you do have capital expenses that do occur.
Capital expenses are included in the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it works out for you.
Me too.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Motion to
Anybody
adjourn.
else?
To adjourn.
It is still technically the AM, just for the record.